All right, we'll call the meeting to order. It's August 16, 2022, and this is a meeting of the Shrewsbury Conservation Commission. Our first item is to review and approve the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the minutes for July 19th, 2022.
Second?
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second item, sign bills. Andy, do we
Nope,
have any?
none this
No
month.
bills? Going into our meetings and hearings. The first one is a continued public hearing regarding the notice of intent filed by Cypress Ave Development Partners LLC for the construction of 66 townhouse-style senior housing units with accessory clubhouse, access driveways, stormwater management facilities, and associated site grading at 1 Greenbrier Drive and 255 Gulf Street. John, do you give us an update?
Yes, we're going to be asking for a continuation, but since the last meeting, we had, Matt went out and walked the line with Ecotech. We located all of the updated flags, so those are on the updated plans, and then we went through and we've gone through, one thing changes, everything changes. We redid all the road profiles, all the drainage, recalced all the drainage. So all those plans are complete. I actually have them in my truck, but I'll drop them off to the engineering department tomorrow. And we just sat down internally and we're wrapping up the flood study. There's a couple things we need to do for that. We need to go out and get a couple of cross sections on some of the drainage ways that lead into the site and throughout the whole watershed area. So, but we should have that done in probably another week or two.
Okay.
So the plans and all that will definitely be in plenty of time to get reviewed prior to the next meeting, and we're hoping to have the flood study done and submitted, hopefully in time to get looked at prior to the next meeting. So, but at any rate, we're asking for continuation because we're just trying to wrap up all loose ends and get everything,
Okay.
all the i's dotted and t's crossed.
Okay, we'll continue this hearing until our next meeting, which is September 20th, 2022.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. All right, we have another continued public hearing, and this is regarding the notice of intent filed by Shrewsbury Land Property Owner LLC for the construction of a warehouse and associated site work at 440 Hartford Turnpike. Do we have the applicant here tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Good evening. My name is Gene Sullivan. I'm the project engineer for the development of 440 Hartford Turnpike. Also tonight with us is Andrea from LEC Environmental Consultants. She is our consultant on environmental work. Since our last meeting with the board back in July, I believe it was, we have been out to the planning board for our site plan review. We received comments from both this board and also the peer reviewer, Art Allen from Ecotech, and have resubmitted plans back to both boards, both yourself and the planning board, addressing all those issues back in early August. The highlights as far as comments relative to the Conservation Commission were to beef up our erosion controls plan, which if you want me to share my screen, I can show you what we did there. Do I have access to that already?
You should have.
You
I
should.
do, look at that.
Little
All right.
arrow button.
Of course not. Nothing's easy. Sorry, I missed one step. All right. There it is. I apologize. So what we've done is identify certain staging areas where materials will be stored during construction, and also added a sediment basin, temporary sediment basin over along Stony Hill Road. We have proposed an earthen berm all along our low side of the property work limits. I like to take the loom that we strip, build a 4 or 5 foot high berm to act as a dam and put the chippings from our trees on it, so that it stabilizes everything. I know over the years, there have been concerns about water seeping onto Stony Hill Road while the site was previously disturbed. So we think we've addressed that pretty well, or very well, excuse me. And additionally, one of the other large concerns that came up both here and at planning was how to handle Stony Hill Road. I guess, again, because of the slope over there, they've had a lot of washout coming off this property over the sidewalk and even out into the street, from what I understand. So what we've proposed, basically from the intersection all along our property line on the low side of Stony Hill, is a stone trench with a perforated pipe in it, upgrading of the sidewalk, but at the bottom of our slope, that'll collect any runoff that comes over from the small area. Remember, we had a huge site draining over here with a lot of slope that wasn't being slowed down or handled at all historically, and now we're gonna develop it all, put ponds in and drainage and all of that. So the actual water even heading that way is gonna be negligible compared to today's condition. But we did put a stone trench all along here with a perforated pipe that would hit a drain manhole on our property and pipe under Stony Hill to the wetland across the street, as was previously proposed under.
What sheet does that show on, that stone?
The best stone trench sheet is on C.3, which is a drainage and utilities page.
We got like C2, C3, drainage and utilities
Yep.
plan, would it be?
Yeah, if you look along Stony Hill, you'll see a red area with a stone trench hauled out.
I see a red area, and I.
Yep, going
A
all,
manhole too, and,
there's a manhole at the yeah, kind of at the, right above the curve there.
yep.
So basically, it's just 2 perforated pipes, gonna dump into that manhole. When it fills up, it'll go under the road and go across the street into the wetlands. So that should capture any concerns that were, or issues that we're having previously. And I'd like to just reinforce again that the water that would get there after our development is completed is,
And that stone is brought right up to grade?
it's right up to grade, yeah. So you're gonna see a 2-foot wide, riprap area that'll have geotextile fabric on 3 sides, so that fines and so forth don't get in there and clog it up over time, with an 8-inch, I think I called it 8-inch, with a 12-inch, excuse me, perforated pipe, which will get the water down to the manhole and across the street. I hope. Other things of note, one of the other questions was how we would access the stormwater basin, because our property's actually up high versus a basin. We're actually really close to a grade at Stony Hill, so we were just gonna add a gravel access there that, they would use in the spring and summer to mow the basin or clean it out. It's really just a grass basin. There's very little maintenance required for that. Off of our property, just to get in there from the sidewalk. So that was what we thought was the best way to do that. We did have a couple of comments based on the peer reviewer from Ecotech. Andrew, you want to walk them through those?
Sure.
Here's the memo if that's helpful, but
Were you able to give them the hard copies?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have that. So there was a comment that Gene already addressed regarding Stone Hill Road drainage. The second comment was the silt fence located within the BBW, I think it's the one.
yes, so
series
this.
on the lower left, there was, that erosion control mirrored the prior wetland delineation that was installed for the construction of the site. I extended the delineation, so it technically was interior of the wetland, so that was removed. I did a site visit the other day and confirmed that. The second question was regarding some of the wetland features and wetland plants that Art observed within the previously cleared and partially developed and graded site. He observed there was some cattails, sedges, woolgrass, and the like. That area that he observed is confined by erosion controls. It's part of an existing NIPDES permit, stormwater, and then SWIP. So my opinion is that it's technically, while it's associated with sedimentation basins, so it's really, it's opportunistic plants that, with seed mix that, part of the soil, birds come and deposit their waste. And so it's just, plants that have evolved. I don't think it's part of, would be considered a wetland, given that it's, even though it's a construction site that's paused, it's part of an approved NIPD's permit, that, so technically, it's still considered an active site. So there was, at the outfall of just immediately down gradient of the erosion control barrier where kind of the whole site drains, there was a small pocket of wetland, herbaceous wetland vegetation, less than 400 or 500 square feet. I forget the exact number. I think I conveyed that in the memo. That could be jurisdictional as a federal wetland. It's not jurisdictional as a state wetland. It's not considered a BVW. So I didn't delineate it. We're acknowledging it. We are providing slightly more wetland replication of the other isolated wetlands that we're impacting on the site. So, that it's not exactly one for one. We're not obligated under the Clean Water Act to replicate impacts that are less than 5,000. So we're just doing this more of a, proactive mitigation, just, to enhance the project. So we think that's adequate mitigation overall.
Can you pull the microphone in a little closer to you?
Yes.
I'm having trouble hearing you. And both of them? Can you bring just both in a little bit more? Yeah, just be easier.
Okay.
Can you just repeat again what you just said at the last part
Absolutely.
about the
The
replication?
replication.
Yeah.
So there is a small isolated wetland, about 400 or 500 square feet, that was located just down gradient of the erosion control barrier, that where all the sedimentation basins kind of discharge to, that's developed over time. That could be considered a federal wetland, and we're, presuming that it is. So it's not a state jurisdictional wetland resource area, it's not a BVW, it's too small to be considered an isolated land subject to flooding. The wetland replication that we're providing on site is associated with impacts to isolated wetlands, and that's about 3,200 square feet. We are impacting about just over 2,900 square feet of isolated wetlands, and so the additional 400 or 500 square feet of wetland that's being impacted can be kind of lumped into and compensated for with what we're proposing. Under the Federal Clean Water Act, any impacts below 5,000 square feet don't have to be replaced, but we are doing it as, some mitigation for the site.
Ready for questions?
Yeah, I think that's all we had. There weren't a lot of open issues as of our
I guess
last
one
meeting.
other thing, we did update the wetland replication area planting plan. We removed the green ash, replaced it with elm. I think it was American elm. So that was a comment that was made previously.
Martha?
You replaced it with elm?
Yes.
And yes, you did. Look at that. Okay. Is that elm, is that a variety that is resistant to the Dutch elm disease?
I see it in the forested setting. I don't think that's not part of the Dutch elm tree. Well, those are, I don't have that.
The experience I have with elm in the forested setting is that they might get to be about this big. And they get hit one summer with the disease and then they're gone.
I haven't necessarily, I've seen mature elms, American elms in the forest, mature
Okay.
trees, so that's not my understanding, is that
May
they're.
I make a request that you
Sure.
just look into it, and if it's, I don't know, maybe look into the background of that particular variety and see if it carries some resistance or if it's even an issue.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How would we handle that? Just condition it if we close the hearing tonight, that?
Yeah, it's not a big thing.
Okay.
I just, if we're gonna be putting trees in, we want them to be healthy.
Right.
We'd be happy to substitute it.
Yeah, I
If
can
you'd
either
pick something
substitute it or
better.
just verify that it's, I'm happy to verify, because we do specify non-cultivar American elm and,
Can you make a
Frequently.
recommendation on something better? in the city That you would think would be more viable? Why don't we go around?
What
and-
about hickory?
I love it.
well, hickory is more FAC or FAC up, more FAC up. So I think those are specified, is it in the wetland itself or in the buffer
I'm
zone?
not sure where it is.
Okay,
I just
I'd
was
have to
looking
bring
at
that up
species list.
myself.
You know, if it's a little bit more upland, that would be okay, or a yellow birch.
Sure, and that's not in there already? I haven't looked at these plans in a while, my apologies.
I don't see it in here.
You're looking to substitute the elm. That's it.
Sure, we can do, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
So it's yellow birch to be?
Yellow birch.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will look that up because I'm intrigued.
You all set?
I'm set, thank you.
Done.
I just have one question on the sewer service. You have the sewer service extending 300 feet approximately beyond where the connection is to the building itself. It's a 6-inch line going out to a manhole towards Route 20. Is that for future use?
That's for a future connection, yes. Today, our sewer service is designed to go down in the bottom left-hand corner, because that's what's available to us. If things change during construction, we'd be happy to bring it out front, but that's what the intent of that line is.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I can update that. So that's part of the Phase 2 sewer improvements we're doing. So it's actually part of the other parcel that, Fran was developing. So one of his agreements is to bring the sewer down. So we decided to put the stub in. Yeah.
So when that happens, we'll brick up, the existing manhole heading towards Stony Hill, and then we'll activate the other one.
So that'll be pitch prop.
It is, it's going both ways out of that manhole today, or the way it's designed.
Set. Chris?
No questions.
Andy?
No, I think I'm all set. I sent the response comments to Art. I didn't hear anything back, but we only got them yesterday. But I think we've addressed everything, so.
All right. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? All right, I don't see any. We'll close it. Okay.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have another continued public hearing. It's regarding the notice of intent filed by Michael LaRusso for the construction of a stone patio, bocce ball court, and associated landscaping at 102 Reservoir Street. The applicant has requested a continuation. So this hearing will be continued till our next meeting, which is September 20, 2022. Okay, we have the following two hearings, which are linked. They're adjacent to each other. We'll open them both together. They're both continued public hearings. One is regarding the notice of intent filed by Prestige Property Development for the demolition of an existing house, the construction of a new single-family house, and associated site work at Lot 1, General Ave. The second one is a continued public hearing regarding the notice of intent filed by Prestige Property Development for the demolition of an existing house and the construction of a new single-family house and associated site work at Lot 2, General Ave. Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks again, John Grenier with J.M. Grenier Associates. I'm also here with Eamon with Prestige Properties. At our last meeting, we did not have a DEP file number, And since then, they have issued file numbers for both projects. The additions we've made to the plans were, we added a 4-foot-high black chain link fence at the rear of the property, at the top of the slope. In addition to that, on the backside of that, we added boulders, staggered boulders, and then white pines, so that we have a pretty solid kind of screening, and to make sure that people know that even if the fence goes away, that we will have boulders, and we will have a line of trees along the back slope adjacent to the wetland. Beyond that, we did go in for our stormwater permit. We're recharging all of our water, all our roof runoff. We're recharging both the driveway runoff. We have appropriate erosion controls during construction for coming into the property, and also we have silt fence and hay bales around the perimeter. There will be obviously site work, but there won't be a lot of tree clearing because this is an existing yard, existing house, so. And the grades around the rear of the property are gonna stay fairly close to what they are right now, so there shouldn't be a lot of earth disturbance associated with clearing, cutting, and stripping, and pullings of stumps, so. We think we have everything pretty much covered. We think we've addressed some of the concerns regarding kind of protecting the wetland with physical barriers and buffers. And again, the biggest thing we're waiting for was getting our DEP file number, and there were no comments from DEP on either filing. So, you have any questions or comments? Oh, did we add? No, we added the white pines in the back. I was gonna say for landscaping, we did do the white pines in the back. So, I think that's about it.
The white pines were to address the owl issue, where the owls were, remember that,
Well,
wasn't that a?
yeah, there was a
concern?
question, because of the proximity to the house and the driveway, they weren't gonna be able to save the pine tree.
Right,
But Eamon did a little research with owls, and I guess the only time owls nest is when they lay their eggs. But beyond that, they're often off in the woods. They don't have permanent nesting grounds. It's only when they hatch their eggs. So we don't think that the owl's going to be a permanent resident with or without the tree that's going to get taken down.
okay. Martha?
Is there an existing tree that you could put an owl box up on?
We could do that. There is a fairly large pine in the back that's staying. We could do an owl box.
That might make the neighbors happier.
Sure.
Yeah,
Consider it done.
That's on lot 1, right? Was that lot 1?
I don't remember.
Yep, Lot 1 is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be closest to where we're removing the existing
Right.
tree.
Hopefully they don't have any small dogs.
What else, Martha?
That's all I have.
Okay, Ken?
All set.
Chris?
I've researched all boxes this weekend, so that's it.
Okay.
Andy?
No, I'm just checking my notes. So, is there a note on that, because I didn't get a chance to look at the plan, about removing that debris by the shed?
Yes, we do have a note on there saying that that's to be removed, and we outlined the area. It's just,
It wasn't a lot, no. Just
No,
checking
there
my notes from
wasn't.
last meeting, so.
it was kind of fluffy too. It wasn't packed in there. It was more some small branches and
Grass clippings.
grass clippings.
Yep. No, I think that's all I had.
You all set?
Yep.
Yeah, no, I can't remember, the sewer was gravity, right, from both of these units? Okay. All right, does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on these 2 hearings? Yes, can you stand up, come to the mic, and state your name and address, please?
Maria Sanamayo, 35 General Ave. I want to begin by asking a couple of questions first. How many of you have gone down to the site to look at it?
I know.
And number 2, are abutters and people within 100 feet supposed to have a notice of this meeting 2 weeks prior?
I couldn't hear the question.
the butters and the people in 100 feet of the site supposed to get a notice of this meeting 2 weeks prior?
The initial one, I think they're talking about the abutter notification.
Well, there's the certified notifications that the applicant sends out, and then we notified it, we put it in the community advocate, and then it's, you know.
Correct, and I mean, that goes in with the initial
Yeah.
hearing, the opening, and then after that, the continued public hearings.
There's no more notifications
There's no
after
more
the first one.
notices after the one, because you were here last,
Yes, I was.
yes, after the first hearing, there's no more notices being sent out to the.
So how, the meeting, meeting scheduled for tonight was
Correct.
never put up until Friday,
That's correct. We're
which
only-
is only 4 days away,
Yeah, so
so,
required 48 hours before the meeting to put the agenda.
excuse me?
It was 48 hours before the meeting is when we're supposed to put the agenda up.
How are people supposed to know that? I don't think that's enough time for
Well,
people to
At
to
the
be ready
last,
and come down.
at the last meeting, which was July, we said this meeting, this hearing, these two hearings are going to be continued until our next meeting, and we gave the date. So when you were here, we stated when that hearing would be again heard. So that was very clear from the night you were here. And then again, like Andy said, the agenda was put up.
Yeah, we usually put it,
I understand, excuse me, I'm sorry. I understand that, but people who couldn't be here at that meeting had no idea about this current meeting. So that's an issue that maybe the commission should think about for the future. Maybe something should be put in prior to 4 days ahead of the meeting. Because there are a lot of people who would have liked to be here but couldn't because of the timing of the notification.
Okay.
I just want to put that out to
Okay.
you.
Here.
I kept checking online for the meeting to be posted. It wasn't posted until Friday, which is 4 days ago.
As you can see on these other continued hearings tonight, we've
I don't
already
know.
announced.
I don't know if the others received a notice or not, so
Yeah, okay,
there's no way for me to know that.
yep.
Okay, also, the neighbors, the butters and the neighbors there, we wanted to just let you know that we feel like the residents are the ones that are always have to defend ourselves and defend our rights. Everything seems to be secretive, and we would have liked an honest and open dialogue. All of us would have liked an honest and open dialogue of what was going on. I almost feel like every time I go in and out of my house, I feel like I'm spying. And I really shouldn't feel that way. And neither should they. It just seems odd. It just seems very, I don't know, secretive. It's a word I guess I have to use. During the last meeting in July regarding this project, both some members of this commission and the representative indicated that the wetlands were not being touched. If that's the case, why are we here?
We're protecting them. We're making sure that this project will not impact the wetlands. That's why we're here.
Okay.
So that's our job. Anything within 100 foot of a wetland resource falls to this commission, and then we're supposed to make sure that whatever is proposed won't impact those wetland resources. That's why. Okay?
Okay. This Conservation Commission, the town of Shrewsbury has, as you know, the primary function of the Conservation Commission is to preserve and protect the wetlands. For some reason, the previous months, the last month, some digging was done in the back of the wetlands the day before we had the meeting. And I don't know what that was about. I had called to find out what was happening, and nobody knew that. So some of the digging was being done in the back. And I don't think anything should have been done prior to that meeting. For some reason that happened. I don't know what that was all about. But after the phone calls, the digging stopped. So, and the machine was taken away for some reason. Within the last few years, trees and shrubs were planted behind General Ave, along Providence Street, near the wetlands from number 7 to number 27. which is right next to number 29, abutting this property. So now, it seems like you want to take away those trees, that big pine tree, which is the owl, the site for the owl and so on. I mentioned the last meeting that a fee was added to 3% of our home values for the preservation of land. Community Advocate is full of requests for people to have wetlands, permission to go into the wetlands or change the wetlands or whatever. That's not preserving. And the town is selling many plots of land, parcels of land. So we're being charged for the preservation of open land, and yet the town seems to be selling it. So I don't understand how that works. Something's not right. Something isn't right. So I'm assuming there's no decision made since last month, right? So since then, is this Mr. Hatami right here? I don't know if I say his name right.
No, I'm Ayman Abdel Jabbar.
Oh, okay. Well, Mr. Hatami from Prestigious Properties did send us a letter about him applying for a permit for demolition, and I do appreciate that. The letter indicated that the application was filed. Once the application is filed, we may view the application and proposed project on the building permit. Will we be notified of that? Do we know? How are we supposed to know when these are available?
Those were a butter notification letters. It's part of the town's demolition permitting process.
So who notifies us?
You would have to go to the building inspector office to get the permits, to view the permit.
So it's up to, it seems like it's always up to the residents to go do the legwork. We're not attorneys. The language used in most of these documents are very technical. Most of us work. Many have children and family responsibilities that prevent us from investigating these issues, and we lose the opportunity to make our voices heard. This is just another example why we feel unimportant in these matters. During the last meeting, this committee, I gave this committee a petition with almost 50 signatures on it. If I can, I would like to have a copy of that so that I can cross-reference the names, because some of the spouses were not home to sign that petition, and I really don't want to disturb them unnecessarily. So is that possible to get a copy of that?
Yeah, if you want to swing by Town Hall tomorrow, I can.
Okay, great.
Copy, yeah.
Thank you. As I said before, a lot of the signers on that petition would have liked to come here, but because of the short notice, they couldn't make arrangements to watch their people, their children, or their elderly parents to be here. Last Thursday, a building on Norwood Ave, which is very close to the wetlands on Norwood Ave, Norwood and Main, was taken down. And groundwork was prepared for another building, not on the same roof, not on the same footprint. So what I'm saying is that if this kind of work continues near the wetlands, the devastation is going to continue. And it's not right, especially since this commission is bound to uphold the laws of the state, even stricter than the state. So, you know, some of them are the wetlands are behind General Ave. As I said last month, I'm on a septic system. We're afraid of the effect that this work is going to have on my septic system and on our lands. So can this board guarantee that my septic system and my land will not be affected by that? I'm really worried about that. I'm the last house on that street. I'm on a septic system, and this work is going to affect that, and I really, really don't want that to happen. So we all stand opposed to this project as presented, and the effects on the wetlands and wildlife. Just yesterday, this morning actually, when I went out, another flock of turkeys stopped me because I couldn't move coming out. So the animals are just coming from everywhere. Please do not give approval to this project.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, just to answer some of your concerns
Sure.
about the, protection of wetland. Both of these projects, they meet fully all the state and town guidance for wetland protection. The offsets from the wetland to the construction of the home exceeds what we require. So they are not compromising, any of the setback distances at all, so.
But there's no guarantee that the building that's gonna go on the two houses is not gonna affect my septic system
See, that's
or
not,
my land.
that's not what conservation deals with. We deal with protecting the wetlands, so they are totally within their right. They meet all the town requirements for building the two houses. So can you take their right away to build their houses? You wouldn't win that.
Can you
in a-
take our right away to have a safe land
Well-
and keep a septic system the way it is?
You know?
I mean, it's a matter of doing that. I don't think it's fair. You can build a house that's there. You can tear that down house and build another house on the same footprint, and you can still make your money. There's no need to have the two houses and digging the different footprints that may affect the wetlands, or our land, or my septic system. Thank you, anyway.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other questions? Yes, to the mic, please.
Yeah, Robert Marusa, 30 General Avenue. I live directly across the street from this proposal. It's rather emotional for us, obviously. We've invested in that neighborhood because we like a peaceful, livable area. Your own mission statement of the commission, which Maria hinted at, cannot be denied as to the possible outcome of destroying and changing wetlands and animal habitats. And I was going to save it for the end, but the whole issue about the owls, it's not a seasonal thing that they mate. The owls have been there for the last 2 years over and over. Jessica Zorga, who is a raptor enthusiast and an expert nationally, was here the last meeting, and she talked about that. The owls are there continually. They keep me up most of the night, actually, because she has one owl that actually is in her house, that's a pet, that is not able to go out in the wild. Other owls come and bang at her door and her windows continually all year long. An issue of putting up an owl cage or whatever you said, I don't even know what that is, but it wouldn't work. The owls remain there. When Jessica moved in 2 years ago, the owls have been there continually. The Community Preservation Act of Shrewsbury, which has been alluded to, 54% of the state municipalities have adopted that. It's curtailing the destruction of wetlands and forest areas. That's monumental in preserving green areas. More communities are buying into that every year. In Massachusetts, 5,000 acres of wetlands is lost every year due to construction and businesses buying land. Why is that happening? Why is it happening in Shrewsbury? The Beale School, when it was built, destroyed habitats for animals. Many were killed and many were thrown away. There are still available areas to build that do not interfere with wetlands and wildlife. I believe contractors and builders could find them easily in Shrewsbury. I'm not sure why this commission would want their name listed on record as destroying this area of General Avenue. Right across from Dean Park, we have a beautiful area there, and this is part of it. I don't understand why you would want to put your names on that. Plus, on that street, of the 5 remaining houses,
other than 29 General Avenue. 4 of them house senior citizens. That's the reason we stay. It's peaceful. All of us have grandchildren and children that visit. Up till to Artemis, there are 2 other houses that have multiple grandchildren. When parents and grandchildren can't take their kids out, they come down the street on their bicycles and they play. With all the construction and 2 new houses going in, that's going to be limited. If you go against your own mission statement, and I've read it multiple times, and the Community Preservation Act, you have to live with that decision.
Okay, let me just stop you there.
Yep.
I'm going to stop you there. Our job is the protection of the wetlands. We have nothing about preventing development in town. We have nothing to do with the,
Yep.
the Community Preservation Act.
Yep.
What we're doing here right now is we're approving a project which fully meets the town zoning and also the wetland guidance and state regulations. They are doing nothing wrong. There is nothing legally we can do to stop this. So to say that we're negligent in our duties for approving this project is totally a false statement. So unless you want to go and change the regulations and this work with the State House and change regulations, how wetlands and developments get approved, we are doing exactly what we've been tasked to do. So, I take offense to the fact you've said it multiple times that, we're putting our names on something we should be ashamed of, so.
Well, I neither said negligent or ashamed. That is your interpretation. That's the problem with this, when people interpret things differently. I am more concerned about the land and what is going to happen.
Right, and as I said, we have done everything we can do with the regulations in front of us that we've been tasked to enforce to protect this property. And,
Okay, well, I hope you think about the owls and all the animals.
well, as Martha said, she was
Yeah.
trying to come up with an alternative to.
That doesn't work, though.
But
Sir,
let me
if
tell
it-
you what
if I-
doesn't work. You can't tell them they can't cut that tree down. They have a right to cut that tree down. There's.
Right, it's his property.
It's his property,
Right.
correct, and there's nothing
Yeah.
stopping him. So you can't say he's doing something wrong.
Yep.
And what we're trying to do is, not only are we enforcing what we've been tasked to do, we're asking for a little extra in terms of Martha's recommendation. So rather than say we're not working to protect the environment, you should be saying thank you for trying to come up with some alternatives here, too. But-
Okay.
Okay, so, Martha, do you want to say something?
I just wanted to say that I'm very familiar with owls' behavior and nesting habitats or habits. The nest site, that tree serves as a nest and territorial site. It is needed during certain months of the year, but you are correct. It's correct to say that they will not be in that tree all year long. They will find other trees. In replacing that nesting site, I presume that they're using a cavity in the tree. By adding a nest box that replicates a cavity and gives the owls another place nearby in the territory with which they're familiar, and they know it for hunting and feeding their young.
Okay.
So it's equivalent. If you cannot save the tree, at least you can give them another option.
Right.
That's what we're trying to do.
Okay.
And I know Jessica quite well.
Yeah, I know, and she's very she should have been here tonight, but an emergency came up actually about an owl, so she couldn't be here today. And she really wanted to be here to talk about that more in depth. I tried to do the best I could, but I couldn't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any
And,
other questions or comments?
For the record, if I may,
Yeah.
after last month's meeting, I met with Jessica for about a half hour outside, and I'm very well versed on owls now after meeting with her. So she gave us the thumbs up on our proposal there,
Good, well, that's good.
Thank you.
in regards to the owl, not the rest of it.
I mean, over time, hopefully those five pine trees, is it? 5 to 6 white pines, or 5 6-foot white pines, I think it says.
Correct.
They'll become habitat for even more owls.
Correct.
you know, but, any other questions or comments? All right, I don't see any, we'll close the hearing.
All right, thank you very much.
Hearings, I should say. Okay, we have another continued public hearing. This one's regarding the notice of intent filed by 441 Walnut Street LLC for the construction of a single-family home and associated site work at Lot 1, 441 Walnut Street. And if I remember right, we got 3 of these, correct, James?
Correct.
So we will open all 3 of these hearings together. We also have another continued public hearing regarding the notice of intent filed by 441 Walnut Street LLC for the construction of a single-family home and associated site work at Lot 2 at 441 Walnut Street. And we have a third continued public hearing regarding the notice of intent filed by 441 Walnut Street LLC for the construction of a single-family home and associated site work at Lot 3, 441 Walnut Street. Why don't you introduce yourself, James?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I'm James Tatro from Azimuth Land Design, here representing 441 Walnut Street LLC. And at your last meeting, we had addressed, I think, most of the concerns, but there were a couple issues that were outstanding. One was, as was pointed out by Mr. Truman at that hearing, we did not yet have, though we were showing on the plans 3 lots, those 3 lots did not legally exist at that time. We have since had an A&R plan filed with the town and recorded at Plan Book 965, Plan 85, showing the lot boundaries that you see on the site plans. And we also added, we had some discussion back and forth with the engineering department in regard to water or wells, and we added basically off the back left corner of each of the 3 proposed houses, proposed well location that seems to work both with where there's to be infiltration and also getting it away from the E1 sanitary sewer pump. And we made those changes, and as I was sitting there watching one of the other hearings, I realized there was one other thing I should have put on the plans but didn't, which was to show the boulder line at the erosion control barrier. So if the commission would close the hearings, I would suggest or ask that a condition be inserted there calling for a boulder wall of, I'm sure there's a standard size, I think we've used before, at least 3-foot average size boulder, 6 feet on center, at that erosion control barrier line on the wetland side of each of the proposed homes. That's what we've got. It's essentially the same plan with the division of lots made official and with proposed well locations shown, again, in each case off the back left, by the back left corner of the house.
James, for that boulder line again, can you just come up here quickly just to point out to us so we can agree on this here? We have a wetland flag line here, and then we have the erosion control line, so where are you proposing?
I would say from here,
Yeah,
all the way to maybe go there.
so actually you want it on the barrier here,
Yeah.
and you'll give up this little area in here.
Yep, that's the plan.
Okay, that sounds fine. So it's gonna zig and zag,
Yeah.
and they can landscape it around it as they, okay.
And they'll still have, as you're out there again, they'll be able to walk through and there's still field
Right.
here.
Yep.
And maybe, and Mr. Chairman, maybe we just also need to sort of codify again what was discussed at the last meeting, and Martha, I think, was kind of on point about how often and what time cutting of the meadow grass could be prescribed to take place.
One fall mowing, I think we agreed
Yeah,
on.
that's what I had in my
No,
notes,
it's
yeah.
annual.
Okay.
It's in the notes from,
Yeah.
the most excellent notes from last month.
And
You're
we said the fall because the birds tend to nest sometime, don't they nest
Birds
in
nest,
earlier?
butterflies
Yeah.
nectar.
Early,
Sure.
so it would be,
And again, you know, may find that some individual homeowner at one of the lots just doesn't do it, but if one of them is going to do so in the area behind, you know, his sort of extended backyard, that would be the limitation.
yeah, because it actually has habitat value if it is cut
If it-
once a year.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I had no more than 6 inches was the other note.
yep. If you want to put a month, you want to say like October or
I-
September? Is September okay?
September's not good.
Not good?
I would say late October.
All right.
Okay. I'm sure we absolutely would have no objection. I just wanted to make sure that was, because it was a point of discussion. I didn't realize what great notes Mr. Truman took.
We got you covered.
Okay.
All right. We will make that note in the conditions, okay? And again, the sewer, last time we talked, it was E1s, but how did
Yeah.
you say you avoided the E1s now? What's the,
Oh, no, well, I'm just saying that the position we were picking for the proposed wells at the back left corner of each house
Yeah.
seemed to be most appropriate for getting it away from both the infiltration and from the E1s.
oh, it was just the separation?
Yeah, just to get
But we're
separate.
still talking E1s?
Yes,
And we talked about the manual transfer switch, which we think is already integrated into, at least an E1 unit, I think has it standard.
I think you're correct.
But we'll put it in the notes,
Oh,
just in
right.
case it's not an E1 and it's somebody else's pressure.
Yep.
Okay. Martha?
I'm good.
Ken?
All set.
Was it town water before, or
No, we actually, what Mr. Truman caught was we hadn't explicitly specified either, and we had some back and forth discussion about where is the nearest town water, and how far would we have to extend, and in the end, the applicant is choosing just to do wells.
Okay. No questions.
Andy?
No, that was it. I think we hit everything.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on these three hearings? Okay, I don't see any. We'll close 3 hearings. Jane.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next one's a new one, Martha, so
Yeah,
if you want to read that,
sounds
then the following ones are continued, apparently.
Okay. We have a new hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Fiver Homes Incorporated and SLT LLC of 110 Hill Street, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice for the installation of a common driveway at 29 Hill Street. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 PM on Tuesday evening. We are now in August, where are we?
16.
August 16th, 2022, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury.
How you doing?
Good.
Steve Turnblom from SLT LLC.
Rich Duhamel, President Fiver Homes Incorporated.
Do you want to give us a little bit of a description on?
Yeah, what we have is desire to put a common driveway into 3 A&R lots that were signed off, and at this point, we've got an approved bylaw for that subdivision into the 3 lots. We've got a plan to put one common driveway with access to all 3 lots from that one driveway. And the rationale for that common driveway is simply the wetland proximity. And we designed it in a way to avoid any resource area so that we could prevent any kind of impact directly to the wetland areas. And there is riverfront, but we're out of the riverfront 100%. And we're not in any of the wetlands, we're in the buffer zone.
What town boards did you say you've already gone through?
We haven't gone through, we submitted to planning, but upon advice from them, they requested we get approval here first.
Okay, on the drives to get in there, yeah. And as far as you said, you're not in riverfront, I take it it's the brook down at the bottom?
There's one that goes across the rear of the property towards the Shrewsbury Sportsman's Club.
Okay,
And then there's another one that does go down the right side.
okay.
Not on our property, but in proximity to it.
And, you know, riverfront, we have, it's 100-foot and a 200-foot.
Yeah, we're outside the 200 in all work.
Okay. For your homes too, I'm just thinking the next
Yes,
step.
that's the intent, is we are trying to have a zero riverfront impact.
All right.
Yeah.
Here's wetland flag.
Here's 200,
Oh, there's the 200-foot
Yeah,
line, huh?
right there.
So, which side of it are we supposed, there's 100, there's 200. Yeah, it looks like the homes are out, just outside of it. Okay. Martha, do you have a question? Any questions?
I have a question. Why, and I'm not familiar with the planning requirements, but it looks like a cul-de-sac. Does it have to be a cul-de-sac?
It does not. There's allowances to have like a T at the end for turnaround, but it's I think a more attractive option.
They want a fire engine to be able to turn around, so that's why it's bigger.
It's more of a
Catch basins, I think.
an enhanced overall design, we think, you know, for looks, aesthetics, as well as ease of use. And keeping it, again, out of the resource areas, because some form of a T might force us closer.
It's a lovely site up there, top of the hill with it's Rawson Brook running at the bottom, right?
In the
Yeah,
back,
yeah,
yeah.
in the back, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It would be lovely to minimize land impacts.
And that's what we
All the way around.
truly
Yeah.
attempted to do here, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, each lot's gonna be 2 acres approximately.
Okay, I'm set, thank you.
All set. Ken?
So you're just coming to us tonight for the cul-de-sac?
Yes,
Not to come back for the homes?
yeah.
Right.
Well, one to the left, I don't think.
What we would have to do is file for individual development. There's only one lot that would likely have anything to do with a future filing.
The one on the right when you come in at the end of the cul-de-sac.
So,
The lowest
so
one, yeah.
where your riverfront line is, the 200-foot riverfront line is right at the toe of your slope for grading. It's very close.
Yeah,
It
we don't
is.
plan to go into that area.
There's no buffer per se, so if you go into that, you'll be into the,
Right. We will do everything.
what are you gonna do to prevent going in there? 'Cause
I'll have it
It will be
marked out,
staked.
and we'll put, you know, a barrier up that prevents accidental
Okay.
breach.
Is it shown on this plan? Is there, there's no erosion control barrier or anything shown at that 200-foot riverfront area? It's not shown.
If that's the concern, though, we would certainly be amenable to putting.
Our wetlands guy, Glenn, he said we didn't, as long as that's staked, we didn't need hay bale and erosion along the 200-foot line.
I'm just saying for your own benefit.
Yeah, no, right.
If you go into that.
No, we don't
not
wanna go-
filling in that, then you're going to be,
So this, I don't know if you've ever seen it, this site is like a bowl in there. It's like they hauled material out at one time. So a lot of that, we're gonna keep. I'm sure there's neighbors here that live on Straw Hollow. We're gonna keep that. We'll adjust on our side, but there's a natural slope up that gives all Straw Hollow protection and a natural slope that goes up before it goes back down to the brook. We're gonna leave all that, a lot of that in place and just adjust the grades as necessary.
Yeah, the rear part, that brook in the back won't see, a significant amount of runoff or otherwise from anywhere because,
It shouldn't see any runoff.
well, that's what I'm saying, we're not gonna see
No, I
any.
won't see any, because it's all gonna come back this way.
Well, it'll just get the natural, whatever's there today, and that's it. And we're not intending to change that rear slope because that's in the 200-foot. So whatever it does today is what it will continue to do.
Yeah, there should be somewhere you should delineate that 200-foot line, just because you are pushing it, like Ken says, with the slopes, and by the time you get the equipment out there, the next thing is the guys
No, we can do that.
100 feet into it, you know how it works.
Yeah.
We're amenable to that, for sure.
Yeah. Anything else, Ken?
Nope.
Chris?
I realize we're not talking about the houses tonight necessarily, but
Correct.
lots 2 and 3, is there any way to move those closer to the cul-de-sac? The
We-
houses?
We're looking at all of that, we haven't got house plans per se yet, or,
We haven't perked the lots yet. It's all pure sand there. Won't be a problem, but till
Ken's
we do
concern,
that.
once you start grading, just to keep you out of trouble later. I'm good.
Andy?
Just, I had a couple, so we never got the wetland delineation forms, we'll need those.
you what?
I never got the wetland delineation. You're supposed to give me the state forms that say how they delineate the wetlands.
Oh, he sent that,
Did he? All right,
yeah.
I'll double
The-
check.
the- Yeah, I
We
saw
talked to
that,
Glenn, he sent.
the
He was
BVW,
Did he email it to me?
yeah.
All right, I'll check then. Maybe I missed it. Yeah, and I said soil testing, because all 3 of the lots will need stormwater permits anyway, so we'll get another bite of the apple per se when they come in. But I think one of my comments was to extend the erosion control further up the cul-de-sac, so. And then I think there is a 100-year flood zone that should be shown on the plans, because it's, you're not impacting it, but it is on the site, so you should have it shown on the site as one of the resources.
Okay.
And I think, check. see
You all set?
I think so, yeah, I'm just trying to see if DEP had any comments. I don't think they had anything. I think DEP had a couple of comments. Yeah, mostly about the stormwater, which we'll resolve, so. But they had the same comment about adding the 100-year floodplain.
Okay.
So, yeah, other than that.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah?
I'm looking at the last page of the plans, and there's a proposed boulder wall. Can you just say a little bit more about that?
That was mainly, there's a property line, and so it was to prevent, basically, someone from going, off the property on that side.
We need to be close to their property line to run this driveway up, to get away from riverfront and the wetlands and all that. It's just a one boulder wall the whole way, just because his property's here, we're gonna be close, and there's like a 2-foot elevation change from his land to ours.
So this runs along the length of the driveway?
Left side, yes.
A portion
On
at
the
least.
western side? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's sloped to 2% grade away from that.
But it's not, it's,
Yeah,
it's
it-
only like a 2-foot boulder wall.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for you on the road drainage. It looks like you have a Cape Cod berm
Yeah.
all around the entire road. And I can see one catch basin just before you're going out onto Hill Street. Is that the only catch basin?
That was,
On
Yeah,
one side?
they designed the road to sheet drain to one side.
Okay.
Because it's only 250 feet long, and it. the
Okay, so it's all
calculations-
sheet drained into that one
Yes.
side, catching that one catch basin?
and all the infiltration is
Going to the-
underneath.
To the infiltrator. It's
Yeah.
Yes.
going into infiltrators.
Yeah.
And that was my next question. That infiltrator's below the entire roadway, the paved area, and I'd make a recommendation where you run it out, it goes almost to the very end of the cul-de-sac there, but it's still ending in the roadway, to run it out just beyond the pavement, in case there's any type of sediment accumulation where you might have to run something in and jet the accumulation out, rather than having to dig down through the pavement. You can go in at it from the road, because I've seen these occasionally really get mucked up. It'll take probably forever with the amount of sand they'll probably be using on this road and stuff, but it's just a nice way to have a access point, because there is no other access point right to these.
No.
It's totally, buried in.
Right.
But if you just ran it out, it looks like another
Yeah, it wouldn't,
2 feet or something, 2 or 3 feet.
not a problem.
And then terminate it there.
Make a note.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments? Yes, can you come to the mic, please, and state your name and address?
Hi, thank you. Carrie Brown, 27 Hill Street. Thank you first for having the public speak tonight, appreciate it. As a person living on 27 Hill Street, we actually were not notified as an abutter, and since our names are on the plan, I think they know that we're an abutter, but we did not receive a certified letter or any information about this meeting. So we've been tracking it ourselves, so we're here tonight. There were a number of DEP comments on the NOI, and I just want to make sure that, I know you brought up a number of them, I just want to make sure that those are in respect to how that will affect us as a property owner. The land is in a 100-year floodplain, and the plan does not show the BLSF and work within that area, so we would just like to make sure that it meets the performance standards of the BLSF and that it's quantified in Section B in the NOI. We'd also like to have the construction of homes on Sheet 3 included in the NOI. They could be, and DEP said that they could be, so we'd like to request that the commission ask for that.
Can you speak up a little more?
Yep, so we'd just like to make sure that the construction of homes is in the NOI. DEP comments said that those could be asked for, and so we'd like that the commission ask for those if possible. We'd also like to make sure that their stormwater standards are met, that there's adequate separation to the mean annual high groundwater, 2-foot minimum, and mounding calculations for less than 4 feet, and that a 50-foot setback is required between infiltration basin and adjacent wetlands, so to make sure that those are also covered. We'd also like clarification on the paved parking areas included in the pre-development and bypass HydroCAD calculations. And we'd also like to request that the commission request HydroCAD calculations for existing conditions provided for the 2, 10, 25, and 100-year storms. We also know that Rossin Hill, Suasco has a dam that's a project being done up the street, and we just would like to make sure that anything that's affected by that further down the road is taken into consideration as well. We currently have ponding on our property at the end of the cul-de-sac that they're proposing. We have our driveway is a dirt driveway that runs along that edge, and we have ponding at the end of our cul-de-sac, and so this cul-de-sac's going to go right next to it, and so we just want to make sure that there's no issues with stormwater coming onto our side as well because of the flooding already happening. And then if commission can request a revised TSS removal worksheet that meets stormwater standard 4 as well. That's also in the DEP comments. There has been action on this property already without conservation permission. I have pictures.
Yeah, we dug 2 test holes that we needed for the infiltrators.
I have pictures of at least 4 holes that have been dug, and there may be more on the property. I
Possibly
did not
4,
enter the
but
property
next-
to do so. I do have pictures of these. They're still here. This was done I took pictures November 19th, 2021, but there's still evidence of the digging that has been taking place. That is within the buffer zone, these dig sites. And so just to know that that happened and that there was no permission or no notification given to us that there was going to be heavy equipment on our property and that people would access that site to dig. So we just want to make sure that there's in conditions notification as appropriate to enter someone else's property. We respect that, people have the right to build on their property, but I think we have some privacy on our property, so we'd like that respected as well. And then we'd also like to ask it as public if we can go on the site walk, that when you plan to do a site walk, if we could go on that site walk with you. And that if we could also, we just want to understand more about how the runoff is going to be captured. On one side is their drainage, and it looks like there's a boulder wall on one side, but now there's a 2-foot elevation higher than our driveway.
No, it goes the other way, down.
Okay, so going down 2 feet onto your side, okay. And then I apologize because I haven't been to a conservation commission before, so I know that there's certain things that you know, with respect to your commission as well with other boards. I know that there is an issue with sight lines off the property. Currently, our property actually bows out into the road, and so I was in belief that there needed to be a line of sight for houses to be built, but maybe that's planning board?
That'll be planning board, yeah,
Okay.
that's not us.
Okay, thank you. And then also there's a cellar hole on the property. There was an old foundation of a barn that's no longer in existence, but there's a big foundation hole, and that runs on both of our properties. And this driveway is proposed to go right through that. So I just want to make sure that we kind of understand as neighbors how that's going to look, that it's not going to be filled in on their part and then empty on our part. And it's going to be interesting. And then also the grading, when they're talking about the water all coming this way, I believe the words were, the water's all coming back this way. That way is towards our house, so we just want to make sure that that's, you know, under control as well.
Okay. When you were talking mounding analysis, are you talking for the septic systems? Are you, was that what you were talking?
Well, so I assume that they're actually hooking up to town water and sewer?
Well, you mentioned septic.
Town water, private septic.
Yeah, so, okay.
Okay, thank you.
But what was your specific referencing to mounding analysis to him? I was assuming you were thinking septic systems.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, you know, that the stormwater is captured, that the infiltration is correct.
Yeah, because typically you're not gonna do that for a single-family home, a mounding analysis. You're gonna make sure you get the separation to groundwater, you know, from the leaching area, but not a mounding analysis on a single-family home,
Okay,
but,
all right.
okay.
Yeah, thank you. So I think, yeah, for us, it was just making sure that the floodplain is set and then that we just don't add to the ponding. And then in the order of conditions, just given that, you know, communication hasn't been upfront with us, that in the order of conditions that we ask that site work be done during the weekdays at appropriate hours and that people be notified if they're entering property that's not theirs. Okay. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Yes?
Hi, I'm Jenny Schulman. I live at 6 Straw Hollow Lane. I'm in a butter. I'm wondering how exactly when you start construction, are you going to prevent wetlands that are adjacent to the property from being polluted by the construction materials? There are significant slopes all around the property that lead directly to the brooks and the wetlands that would carry storm runoff. So that's my first question. My second question is kind of reiterating what other people have said, is that you are in the 100-year floodplain, and that studies on the land use changes upstream from the nearby Ross and Hillbrook Dam show that stormwater runoff within the watershed is increased to the extent that they're currently rehabilitating that dam, and that we ask that you kind of consider the floodplain and how it may affect abutters as well. And we would also like to be included on any walkthroughs that occur. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we're trying to keep the site as natural as we can, keep as many trees as we can that make sense. On the back of Straw Hollow where she's talking, there's a big banking. And it comes up like this and then it comes back down. They own approximately 2/3 up that hill. We plan on leaving that hill where it is. Privacy for them, privacy for us, leave the trees. We're not clear cutting it or doing anything like that. Proposing.
No runoff that way at all.
And
that's incremental.
If you can picture this mound, how the dirt is, they dug out of this, you know, I don't know, 50, 70 years ago. It's all high around. Where we're building is gonna be lower. We're gonna adjust the slopes on our side because they're steep. We're gonna fill, there's a big high portion of dirt. We're gonna move that around, but you're still gonna have this mound around us to control any type of runoff at all. Will come back our way into the cul-de-sac, down to the catch basin. Plus, it's all sand. I dug there. I did the work all at Straw Hollow, actually, 35 years ago with Dave Bomita. And it's nothing but beautiful sand. You're not going to have any problem with any runoff, and we're not going to be doing any grading. We can't go in. So if you can picture that mound like this, the 200-foot zone actually comes down this side of the slope, so we can't even go in there. So there won't be any problem.
And as far as, you know, ponding and stuff now, the existing conditions, I mean, we're certainly not going to make it any worse.
because we're gonna be grading and improving it. On our property at least, you know, I mean, I can't control what's on the other, but we'll be grading it so that it's handled by in the stormwater considerations for each lot. We'll have to deal with all of them.
You have another question?
Yeah, one more request. The 150 or so acres of conservation land that are behind that property, beyond the brook, is a place that a lot of the people in the neighborhood like to hike and access for their own, benefit of enjoying the natural aspects of it. We would ask that you continue to allow people to go back there and have some kind of access to that for the public.
Kind of up to the people that buy the house.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly in our control.
Yeah, but I just want to
Make
know
good with
that
the
it is
neighbors
used a
when you
lot.
get the new neighbors,
Yeah.
and you'll probably get it, you know.
Yes.
I'm Janet Schulman at 6 Straw Hollow. In that bowl where the sand pit is, how is that going to be graded so that you don't have to take down the hardwood forest that's at the back of that?
We're not gonna touch that top of the bowl that you're talking
Okay.
about. 'Cause in
So
your
my
backyard,
land
it
comes
goes
down
level, then it goes up.
precipitously.
Yeah.
And so where's the house going to fit in there? You're going to
It's gonna be
backfill for
Beyond
that?
it,
So
beyond
where the
that.
top of the slope is, the house is gonna be well away from that. So there'll be a backyard.
So you'll be down in the
So
bowl?
they'll actually be looking at some type of slope in all two of the backyards.
So you will be down in the
Yes,
bowl?
yes, you probably won't even see the house.
Okay.
You might see the roof, but I don't think so. But in the back of your property, doesn't it go level, then you have a slope up with all trees? That's all it's saying.
Okay.
You own 2/3 of the banking, approximately, we saw some stakes. So we plan on keeping that whole bank in there, come back the other side, maybe take any dead trees out and stuff like that, but do it right. We're not gonna, had many places in town we've done it right, so.
Are you worried about mitigating erosion?
No, because what you have now for a slope is probably a 2-to-1 slope. We're done, it's probably, because we're gonna fill into this slope. One of the houses, we only project digging like a foot deep, and then taking that water hill in the middle and moving it around and actually building it up so the slopes don't look as bad. So if anything, the slopes will be less than what they are now.
And then we can control the runoff into the directed areas where we designed, you know.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yep.
I got a question. I was just wondering about the
Sir, could you state your name and address,
Oh,
please?
yep, Jonathan Brown, 27 Hill Street. I was just wondering about the proposed 4-foot wall for the driveway. So that wall is going to be on the property line, or is it going to be on the wetland side?
It will be on our property, but right up against, if
But right on the line?
If this is your line, the boulders will be set here. It's only enough because of the grade of driveway, is close to the property line.
Yeah.
So if it comes over, your lot's here. We
Yeah.
don't want to just leave a cliff.
If you
Right.
wanted, some grading easement or something, we would, perhaps be able to
Yeah.
do something different.
Well, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't higher and creating,
No,
drainage
it's
problems on our
lower.
property. Okay.
Yeah.
And my other concern was the house, lot number 1, that's in the flat area. Is that, I just want to make sure if you're going to build that up, that it's not going to send more runoff into our
No, we'll have to
cul-de-sac.
swale it so we can't send water to your property.
Right.
And we do plan on putting a row of arborvitae's there for protection, get them growing.
And maybe like a drainage
It'd be like a
ditch or
berm or
something.
something at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be a
Okay.
swale or
Swale.
something. We might be able to build an earthen
It might
berm
be a
along
berm,
there and put the
Yeah.
trees on them so the water stays on that side.
Okay.
Drains in.
It's proposed.
All right.
But that'll be addressed when we do the houses.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, any other questions? All right, Andy, this, many people have brought up the 100-year flood study for this Suasco watershed. Are we subject to that on this property?
I mean, it just clips, literally goes a couple of feet onto the property. Most of it's on the DCR property next door, so
Yeah.
I don't think it's an issue,
Okay,
so.
so that doesn't trigger it then?
No, they're not doing any work that would impact the borderland subject to flooding. I say it's barely on their property, but it did need showing, so.
Yep. Yep. Ken, you want to make a
Well,
comment?
the only lot that's the only thing that's in the 100-foot buffer is the first lot on the
On the right.
right.
Yeah.
So perhaps when you come back to us, you can show a little bit more detail on that lot.
Absolutely.
You're gonna have to come back with some questions with regards to the drainage and whatnot. So maybe you could show how that's going to be situated on that lot with grades and whatnot.
Sure.
Lot 3, right?
Is that lot 3?
We'll have far more detail, you know, septic and other
Well, I'm just
locations.
thinking, when you come back for the cul-de-sac, we're going to have to come back to us for this cul-de-sac, if you could perhaps show where that house is going to be situated on that lot. Is that possible?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we haven't picked a plan yet or decided.
That, I mean, it's like anything, we could show you something, but, you know, someone comes along tomorrow and wants to buy something, it's hard to know what we'd be putting there.
Okay.
But we,
You know, it'll be a walkout cellar for sure on the right side, because of the grades go down, so that'll be a walkout cellar, and we'll keep it far enough away.
the intent is to hug as far off the wetlands as we can.
So do you plan on doing the stormwater permits once you got the houses locked in?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll have a better idea then.
Because we still have to go up and do, you know, perk tests and septic system locations and all the other related grading.
I mean, I did look at the abutters, yeah, for some reason that lady was not on the certified abutters list. I don't know why the assessor missed it, but it's strange.
Yeah, that, the closest.
Yeah, the one that's right next to it is not on the list. That's of all the ones, so, but.
I don't know.
You go on the list that we gave you, so we can't really fault you. I lost my train of thought.
With the stormwater?
So
Yeah, so the stormwater, so I mean, this doesn't trigger a storm, I mean, the only reason they're doing the stormwater report is because of the town bylaw. I mean, 3 single-family homes don't trigger a stormwater requirement, so.
So they don't need it for the,
They don't need it under the NOI, but they need it under the stormwater bylaw, because
Okay.
it's 7 5,000 square feet. So they've got a permit right now for the cul-de-sac, and then we would envision they'll come back for each of the 3
the
lots. For the three lots. So at that point,
For the
you know,
homes,
we'll compare that with, you know, how it lays out with the riverfront, and if we need to
Alright.
file, we'll recommend filing with them then. Because I say, at this point, it's a little premature if they don't know what the houses look like.
okay. So what would we be looking at as deficient on this plan right now, again, to summarize?
I actually looked, they did send me updated plans, so I think I'm all set. I didn't realize, so I've got the updated plans with my notes, so.
Do you have enough, right, to close the hearing?
Yeah, they did say, I looked in the G drive, I didn't realize that they'd already sent it to me, so I'm good, I think, at this point.
Okay, and we can condition like extending the infiltrator out a couple
Yep.
of feet to get it below, out from under the pavement, the end, and Ken on the grading on the side here.
You gotta just lay out the 200-foot riverfront and make sure you don't go into that.
We will. We'll be very careful. I'll get the
We'll put that-
surveyor out and
we'll
stake that whole
put that as
thing.
a condition.
Yeah, I
just
think
to
you have an
stake it out.
erosion control barrier that's, I thought it
Yeah,
was. keeping them-
We'll stake it out and I'll move the barrier.
It might make sense, like he said, put the barrier right at the 200-foot.
Well, no, we'll come in like 210, you know?
Yeah, well,
I mean,
yeah.
Does the erosion control detail need to be on the plans?
It was,
There is none?
yeah, it's on the last
The
sheet.
page.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, the last page. 5 of 5.
Yeah, you got-
12-inch straw wattles and silt fence.
Okay.
You got a track mat at the end, well, you will have a,
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the concern from the neighbor about communicating, crossing the neighbor's land?
Yeah, that's understood.
Okay.
That was,
All right, so are we okay with closing the hearing tonight? Then you have. All right. No further questions. We'll close the hearing. We're going to condition the order of conditions, okay?
thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
It means that the hearing for the cul-de-sac and the driveway is done. They won't need to come back next month.
Okay, so this Conservation Commission has approved it thus far. Now
Yes.
it goes to another board.
It has to go to planning board, I believe he said he was off to next, was that?
It's still in planning board, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They
planning board-
usually won't approve it until we give our final say, because if we don't approve it, it all falls apart.
Are they under any obligation to let us know as a butter?
Andy, do they have, they must.
It would have been the same notification, yeah, so we would check, can check with the planning department tomorrow.
Can we make sure we're on the abutters?
Yeah, you're not on the list, I don't know why, I can't.
I swear I live there.
And you're the only, yeah, the one that should be.
Probably the oldest family on that road, aren't you? Browns, I know.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. All right, the next one's a continued one, Mark, so I'll read that one, I guess. We have another continued public hearing. It's regarding the notice of intent filed by Nicole Finlayson for a proposed addition associated site work at 21 Cedar Road.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Mark Arnold with Goddard Consulting here on behalf of the applicant for the NOI at 21 Cedar Street here in Shrewsbury. This is DEP file number 285-1932. Again, Mark Arnold with Goddard Consulting. The commission had requested at the last hearing the plans be revised to show the 15-foot, 30-foot buffer zones on the plan, which was submitted. Just a reminder, this is a notice of intent for an addition to a single-family house with associated grading and stormwater system with a recharge dry well in the back. In addition, the applicant has proposed to restore 925 square feet of lawn to buffer zone with plantings of trees and shrubs as shown in on the plan and also in the top right corner there. And we did submit a buffer zone restoration plan in the original NOI, walking through the details of how the area be restored with.
Just bear with us a moment, we're just getting our plans out here, so.
Yeah, I don't think I got updated hard copies, but.
This is the one where you came up real tight to the sideline with the, correct, with the addition?
Correct. So the site is well developed in the sense of lawn extending right down to the edge of the wetlands around the whole, almost the entire lot. So the back portion is where we have the restoration work. And let me just bring the plan closer so I can. So again, as you're looking at the plan, it's the area in the back here is where we're doing the restoration in the buffer zone. This is the addition here. So again, everything is being proposed within existing lawn. The driveway is being shortened to allow the addition to be installed. And then we have the erosion controls here. So there is structure in the 30-foot buffer zone, but it's all within existing lawn.
What's your offset now to the side, to the wetland line from the addition? Did it change any since our last hearing?
I don't believe it changed. Let me just double check.
So we're probably still 10 feet, was that?
10 feet, yeah.
Yeah, I think it looks like it's about 10 feet. Yeah, I don't believe it changed from the last plan set. Looking at the original plan set submitted.
Yeah, it looks like 10. Even maybe a little less in places. 9, 10. So that was one of the concerns we had last meeting. So what really changed now from our last hearing?
The commission did ask that the buffer zones be put on, so the 15 and the 30 foot was added,
Okay.
just to clarify where
Just to
those
see
buffer
where
zones
it
were.
fell?
Yeah, just to see where it
Regards to the
fell.
construction, but
Yep.
so the buildings itself didn't get any smaller, or they didn't shift?
No, it's a rather small single-family house on the property right now. It's really not.
Right.
for
Martha,
a
do you
family.
want to make any comments? I've got some after.
No, I'm just still not really comfortable with how close it is to the wetland line.
I mean, I think we brought it up last time. What was preventing this addition from being reoriented so it's growing out toward the backyard, which seems to be, you have more opportunities that way to keep your offsets closer to the commission's requirement versus this 9 feet on the side right now, it looks like.
So the goal was to maintain the existing curb cut for the driveway. So the existing driveway is where the proposed driveway is.
Yeah?
And so the goal was to have the garage located off that existing driveway rather than shift everything and regrade. And that also, shifting things also involves reorienting the general layout of the house in the sense of the garage with the additional space next to it, adding into the original layout of the existing house. And so I believe from the layout with the architect that was the big restriction in the sense of trying to reshuffle rooms inside the house would be extremely difficult.
But
to
when you're
really
saying
make-
curb cut, I mean, this is private way. Are we talking, is there a curb or is this just a?
I mean, I'm not, I'm
Eight-
not, I'm trying to remember exactly what the street, how that looked, on site, but there's an existing driveway that comes in right in that area, and you can see that on sheet 1.
Right, but that's not locking, I mean, that's different than saying there's a curb cut that you can't move, that.
Yeah, it's mainly just, not altering the existing driveway location
You're
on the
just not
street.
moving the driveway is basically what you're
Yep.
saying. I'm sorry, Martha, you got anything else?
Nope.
No? Ken?
No, I'm all set for now.
Chris?
No.
Andy?
No, those are the two things really, was the updating the buffers, so, but it is obviously.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? All right, is everybody happy with the, or I shouldn't say happy, but amenable to going with the offset on the sideline? It's okay with you?
I mean, I'm not happy about it, but
Yeah.
this really doesn't seem like there's much of a choice,
Yeah, I mean,
unless you have them reconfigure their.
well, that's
inside
what I
their
thought
home.
was gonna happen from the last hearing, that they would
Right,
take
well-
some of this, gain another 10 feet at least, and then push it, bump it out a little bit more that way, but.
You're taking away driveway, correct?
Correct, so there's a section of the driveway that's at the end of the driveway. The driveway extends further into the property than it will after so in the sense of you will have less paved area.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
You'll have less paved area, but you're putting a roof over it.
With
Correct,
catching-
but I guess in the sense of, I mean, it depends on how you, the runoff off a roof is usually cleaner than pavement.
Okay, so seeing it sounds like the commission's pretty much going along with the, 9-foot, 10-foot offset to the wetland, I'm going to ask about a barrier on that side to prevent any encroachment into the wetland. So, did you call any out on your plan? I don't see anything.
I don't believe we put any on the plan. I mean, there is, the backyard is already fenced in.
Yep.
Um,
Well, I'm not worried about the
So-
fencing, I'm worried about people just starting to encroach into the wetland on the side of the garage there, the addition.
yeah, I understand that.
So,
No further structures, I would think, no sheds.
well, no fill, period. I mean,
Yeah.
you're 9 feet, that's not much of a distance. And the next thing is they want to get around to the backyard and to bring in fill, and there's a road going out to the backyard. So, you've heard us delineate the wetlands before with a boulder,
Yes.
so
I believe that would be amendable, but in this case, I may want to, I mean, I guess if the commission, I mean, I guess prepared, I mean, is the next meeting in 2 weeks for this commission?
So, a month.
It's a month, okay.
September 20th.
Yeah, I guess I don't think the applicant would be opposed to a boulder, but I think as long as the condition is boulder or a fence, that's approvable by by Andy. But just I mean, if, for example, if they wanted to do a split rail fence versus a boulder
That
barrier.
alone doesn't hold up over time. They just disappear.
Okay.
They're gone. So you're talking boulders that are gonna be there.
I understand the purpose of the boulder barrier. I
Yeah.
totally agree.
I mean,
and
we're talking 3 foot.
Oh, I understand exactly what you want, and I know, and I agree with you that that's the most optimal barrier. But I think there can be other barriers. They may be more expensive, but there are other barriers that could be put in that could be. I mean, we could put in granite monuments that are
Why don't
pretty
you come
close.
back next month? Come back and
So,
propose something. Talk to your client. It will be another month and come up with what you want. I mean, a lot of times we've done the boulders and a fence or boulders and abrevieties, you know, to do some kind of architectural dressing of it.
Yeah, I fully understand that. So that's totally fine if we can hold off till next month because I don't want to make that decision for the applicant.
Just show it on the, show exactly.
Yeah, make sure you show it on the plan.
And we can revise it to have
Yeah.
it shown on the plans. Yep.
Yeah.
So and then hopefully we can issue and
Okay.
quickly get receipt of
We
the
got somebody who wants to speak now. Name and
So,
address, please.
Nicole Finlayson, 21 Cedar Road.
Okay.
I came unprepared. My son was at practice, so I didn't know if I was going to be able to
Yeah.
come. I'm open. Ideally, if we could if you could tell us what you needed tonight so that we don't have to push it, that would be the goal so that we can kind of get started with the next phase of the project.
I mean, can it be conditioned? I mean, there's,
Yeah, we can
I think conditioning because it's pretty lined out on the plan where they would have to land is in sense of
Yeah.
along the wetland, along the wetland line, but not in the wetland.
Correct.
The boulders of a certain size,
Right.
spaced at a certain size, are required.
Right.
In this area.
Right, and ideally, if you could modify the plan, you know, we could close the hearing tonight.
Yep.
Could he modify the plan and bring in a modified version to you?
Well, technically, once we close the hearing, I'm not allowed to.
You don't want to?
We're not allowed to accept any new material.
Oh,
once
you
we close
can't
the hearing.
take
That's
any
what
more in?
that gets technical, so.
I mean, the commission can accept a minor modification if they want to.
Yeah.
There's the fence line. Go right up to that fence line and come right up.
Yeah.
So go from the existing fence corner near the shed all the way.
All the way
to
back up to the property line where the wetland.
Yep, all the way up to the street.
Yeah.
Almost
And
to the
every,
street.
put 3 foot boulders every 6 feet.
3-foot boulders every 6 feet.
Yep, yeah, that sounds good. And, you know, it's your option to put abreviate in there if you want to. I mean, if you like to dress it up a little.
Yeah.
You know, you put an abreviate between them and,
Yeah, I was made aware in the beginning that there's probably going to be a need for something there, so I'm
Yeah.
more than willing to do whatever.
We can submit a plan under a minor modification if the commission wants to just condition, as we discussed about the boulders, and then request that a minor modification plan be submitted prior to the start of work. Therefore, it would, prior to the pre-construction meeting, that way, it's on
just on
file.
record, yep. This will be in your order, though. We'll
Exactly,
describe it in the
exactly,
order.
yep.
Okay, so let's just agree. It's going to be from where the wetland flag line crosses the property line.
Yep.
You want to come right, why don't you come right up here? Why don't you come right here, and then you take a look? Both of you can come up here if you want. Okay, starting right at that corner.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, you know, every,
All right, good.
So.
Every 6 feet.
Every 6 feet,
Here.
up to the fence there, okay. Yep, right there. From there to there.
okay, yep.
Yep.
And if you want to put abrevieties, or we don't have to say it. It's up to you. I mean, we'd be happy with the boulders, but.
I will do whatever you
The
would
boul-
like.
the boulders are gonna be they're gonna look aesthetically fairly nice, and I would say that's the best option for now, and if you wanna add our varieties, you can choose those later. That's
Okay,
that's what I
so,
think is
okay, we'll
best,
just
yeah.
do the boulder thing.
All right,
Okay, so
there
it's
they-
gonna be described from the property line
Yep.
to, is there a fence back there? There's
To
the
where
fence.
this is the fence
Oh,
right here.
okay, right.
Yeah, to where the fence,
Intersects at 360 elevation.
Intersects at elevation 360.
Okay,
Perfect.
okay, that sounds good. All right, does anyone in the public have any other questions or comments on this hearing? I don't see any, we'll close it. Thanks.
So 240 next?
Next one is 240. And the last one, we're going to postpone. So we only have one more left, Martha.
Okay, I have a question though, in we've got Old Faith Road
Yeah.
in here, but there's nothing.
Old Faith Road? Is there something? It's in the
Got left over from
order of
last
Oh, it might have
conditions.
been left over from last time, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Right, we have a new public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Ann Mormon of 240 South Quinsigamond Avenue, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice of intent for the construction of a deck, patio, attached garage addition, and house expansion at 240 South Quinsigamond Avenue. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, August 16, 2022, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kate O'Donnell from Ecotech. This is,
Chris Hadcock Architecture, Inc.
I'm representing the applicant Ann Mormon. Ann is also present. The DEP file number, do you guys need that? It's 2851941.
Yep, we've got it.
Okay.
We just got it today.
Yes, today. So I delineated the wetland resource areas on the site in June, and delineated the bank of Lake Quinsigamond in the southwestern portion of the property with flags A1 to A4, which I'm showing in green on this plan right here. The site is an existing quarter-acre developed property. Consists of a existing single-family house, a paved driveway, lawn, and a shed. The proposed work is to construct a home expansion addition on the southeastern side of the house, as well as a garage addition within the existing paved driveway, and a deck and patio in the backyard. Additionally, the existing carport and shed are going to be removed as part of the project work. The proposed work is located 37 feet from the bank of Lake Quinsigamond at its closest point. All of the work is within existing developed areas. The two additions are located primarily within the existing paved impervious driveway, and the deck and patio are located within existing lawn. Additionally, a portion of the property is located within a mapped estimated habitat associated with Lake Quinsigamond, but all of the work on the property is within existing lawn, so the activities are exempt under the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act, which exempts the construction or removal of additions or secondary structures associated with a single-family house that are located within existing paved and lawn areas. And lastly, we're proposing a 12-inch straw wattle and silt fence erosion control barrier at the limit of work. And we can answer any questions that you guys have.
Martha?
I'm all set.
Ken?
You're going to be putting foundations in?
Yes.
Full foundations?
Yes,
You're
basement.
going to be taking away all the extra material?
Yes, it'll be off-site.
Okay.
Chris?
No questions.
Okay, just, I'm looking at the plan. There's any proposed grading shown here, or I'm not seeing any proposed grading changes?
No grade changes are proposed.
So your patio, you're gonna have, it's gonna be almost a 2-foot drop from,
It's gonna be sunken. We'll have walls and we'll sink the patio. You know, we're planning to have the basement floor lower than the existing floor.
so you're gonna walk
So-
down into this patio area from, but there's no stairs shown or anything.
No, it's just a step out from the basement floor to the patio, just one step out.
One step
You know, like a 7-inch step from a basement floor
down
down to the patio.
to the patio. And then, but what I'm getting at is the patio, the grades on the back of the house.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah,
existing stairs.
I mean, I'm
there.
looking at,
That patio is probably gonna be around that, that 364 grade, maybe a little higher. And we'll probably have another step, but we'll have walls. We're not proposing to redo any grading or anything. We're just gonna keep the current grade as is. And the way the design is, everything pretty much lines up.
well, the only way you're gonna put that patio in at grade is it's gonna have a 2-foot pitch to it or better. And,
Well, the patio will be flat, but it's being dropped within there.
Closer
there's
to
no,
the house.
there's no walls shown or anything. There's, you see what I'm saying, Andy?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, that was one of my questions, that there
Yeah,
didn't seem to be any details on
I mean,
the patio, so.
obviously, I'm just guessing as to what's happening here. I could say, this, based on what you're proposing here, I see a patio that's sloping to over 2 feet across it, just taking off down the hill. So if you're telling me it's flat, this plan doesn't represent that. I mean, you should have an elevation somewhere, a spot elevation in the corner. This isn't sufficient for a contractor to work from. You need spot elevations on the corners of your patio. I mean, the deck is different because it's gonna be elevated, I take it, correct?
Yes, I do have a question. Would you guys be willing to change the patio to a deck instead? Just continue the deck on instead of having a patio? That would
Yeah, that
remove
would-
any grading required.
The patio is on the basement level, though. The deck is on the first level.
Right.
So the deck's
You
gonna
could
be,
have stairs down to the,
There are different levels of the house.
so the deck's gonna be
It'd just-
elevated.
Yeah.
grade. Would just be about a foot or two above grade patio.
As long as you just can walk up from the basement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's start again.
yeah.
The proposed deck, where does it stand in relation to grade?
I'm not sure what you
The
mean.
first floor line, first floor level.
Okay, is the back of the house have an exposed basement? Is it a walkout
It
basement?
is a walkout basement.
So we're talking, that could be 7 feet tall to the bottom of that deck.
Yes,
Okay, and so that's gonna be set, I take it, on concrete footings of some
Yes.
sort,
yes.
whether it's
Sonotubes
sonotube
and
or.
stuff. Yes.
So, I mean, I think you're gonna need some more detail here as to what you're doing, in my eyes. And then, I mean, the bigger concern then is you go down to the patio, and the patio is gonna be at grade, I understand that, but at what grade? Is it gonna be at 364, which means you're gonna be cutting into the hill a couple feet and removing all that material, and then you're gonna need some kind of wall to sustain, the elevation change, unless you're revamping the grade across your whole backyard,
Mm-hmm.
And that's an option too, if you're changing your grade across the backyard, but the way this is shown, too many questions in my eyes.
Are you going to have to step up out of the patio to access the backyard? Or, step
No,
down? These would be step down.
the grade slopes down to the lake. And
Correct, but a patio it's a flat.
it's flat, yes.
It's flat, right, and where you've got it, it crosses the
Right,
366
so if
line,
if
yeah.
it's at 364, let's say down
Down
here,
here, but
and it's 364 here, you're basically in a hole, because that's
Right.
366. So you're right, you'd have to step up and out, so they would
Yeah.
have to have a retaining wall to hold that soil back. But if they regrade this to bring the 364 up, but there's a lot of cutting then, we have to know how they're gonna adjust the grades. I think,
When-
I mean,
When you
the
envision-
grades will just die into a retaining wall of some sort.
well, you gotta show it.
When you envision the patio, I'm addressing the homeowner.
Yeah.
Are you envisioning being able to access the yard from all areas of the patio, just stepping out, or?
The patio will just be in the addition,
Mm-hmm.
and that's basically level with where the where we're gonna dig down into, to make the family room basically on the basement level.
Yep. Can you come up here for 1 second? We just want to show you the concern we have so you understand it when you go home
And think about it.
and think about it, yeah, you know.
And I wanna
Okay.
bring that, I mean, like, we see it kind of, you can see how the grades like.
All right.
So, right now there's boats there, hi Kenny. So this is basically flat, and
Yep.
then this is all gonna get dug out.
Yep.
And so there's a slight hill here, just,
Right,
you
right.
know, but it'll end up being flat by the time you get out to where the patio is
Yeah.
gonna be.
Yeah, that doesn't even quite, well, quite look like, see, here's the
yeah.
plan right here. This is what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So here's the outside corner of your patio. It's a little higher than 364. Okay, see 364 there? So if your patio's flat all the way across, this is the whole length of your patio, goes all the way out here. And that's gonna be almost 364 in this corner. Look what the elevation of your land is up here. It's 366.
And the 366 goes to that corner right there, too. So this could all be flat, anything.
If you want to bring it up and, you know, to 366
Yeah, we can do
and make
that.
it flat, but then you're gonna have some grading change, you know what I'm saying here.
Step down.
You're gonna have to
Step down with inside of here or something.
Yeah,
We can
you
keep it all
have to
within.
show some grading changes here, but right now, I'm just guessing at what that elevation is. Is it 364, or you're gonna keep it 366? So that's the concern, yeah. I mean, you couldn't give this to a contractor to build right now. Okay. So, we'll see you next month.
Will this require an engineering plan?
It's up to you guys. I mean, we're really looking at elevations. I don't know if
If
you're
you're going
requiring.
to bring your stairs back in this way.
Yeah, if we do that,
If
can
you're
we
going to
just
bring your
continue
stairs
on
in
today,
here,
from today?
and set some grades, if you're gonna be at 366, and that's at 366, and you're gonna bring your stairs back to walk down to 364, would that just show that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your capabilities are, but,
We have a land surveyor.
I mean, a land surveyor should understand elevations, you know, but I'm not gonna tell you one way or the other how to.
Should we have some detail on the deck footings too?
Yeah, I would tell us how, you know, what this is gonna be elevation-wise, you know, is it, you know, 7 feet high? Tell us, you know, it'd be nice to have little elevations on the corners, and then just say, it's gonna be sauna tubes on the corners here, and, however, but yeah, you might,
Because then we ask, well, how much earth is gonna be removed
Yeah.
to put the footings in, and
and you usually ask what's gonna be under the deck too, Martha, right? Is it gonna be paved, or is it gonna be stone?
yeah,
or-
we usually talk about that.
Yeah, so, I mean, what's under the deck, proposed deck, is it, you know, just tell us what it's gonna be. Is it stone, you know, for storage, or is it gonna be paved? Like
Under
what?
the patio, it's gonna be solid, because this is an abandoned
Right.
lot over there that
Right, right.
has skunks and rats
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything, and they keep showing up in our
Yeah.
yard, so we're not gonna have any places for them to hide.
No, they wouldn't, but if your deck's up 7 feet off the ground, you're gonna have big storage space under there, so you
Oh,
might.
that's for the first level, sorry, not for the,
Right, that you're gonna come out the first level and walk onto your deck, but underneath
Right.
that, he just said that this is a walkout basement, so you have 7 feet of exposed, do you have that picture? I don't know if I can see the house, back of the house.
Yeah, it's gonna be, you're gonna have some patio space underneath it.
Yeah, just tell us what it's gonna be, is it gonna be stone?
Is this changing? Is this
is
coming
all
out?
being done.
yeah.
That's all
Yeah,
coming out?
yeah.
But is that basically the height of the deck, the new deck?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's going to look similar to what you have now, just a little larger.
just rectangle and,
Okay. So it's similar to that.
yeah.
yeah.
Right now it's screened in and it's a funny shape,
Yeah,
so we're just gonna rectangle.
yeah, we just need to know where you're gonna be digging, you know, to put your footings for your deck, and we just need the elevations, how this is going to be laid out, so we know how much of the grading is gonna change here, and
And if it's not, say it's not.
not,
Show
and
an
if it's gonna be
elevation
still.
there.
Yeah. Okay, All right, well, let's see if, Andy, do you have anything else to?
No, that was it, really, just need some more details running in the back.
Okay, yeah, let's see if anybody in the public is here tonight for this. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on 240 South Quinsigamon Ave? All right, we need some more information on this, so
Green card?
Yes.
we will continue the hearing until our next meeting, which is September 20th, 2022. And our last hearing is going to be postponed, and that was a hearing, it was a new public hearing regarding the notice of intent filed by the town of Shrewsbury for the construction of a new boat dock system, including both moored and floating docks, along with an ADA compliant walkway at 223, 237 to 239 North Quinsigamon Ave. Again, that will be postponed till our next meeting, do you think, Andy?
Yeah, we just didn't have a DEP number, so.
All right, so that'll be postponed until our next meeting, which is
September 20th.
September 20th, 2022. All right, you want to make some motions, Ken, for,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we issue an order of condition at 440 Hartford Turnpike for the construction of a warehouse and associated site work.
okay. And do you want to condition it, Ken, with the yellow birch substitution? Was that the one where?
Yep.
Yes.
With a yellow birch substitute.
Substitution for
In lieu of
American elm.
For the elm.
In lieu of American elm. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, we issue order of conditions at Lot 1, General Ave, for construction of a new single-family home with the addition of a owl box. I believe that was the lot it was going to be
Yep,
on,
yep,
was it
yeah.
Lot 1?
Owl
And-
nesting box, is it called?
And with the 3-foot size boulders on the wetland line.
Correct. Did he show those, Ken?
He did, and he also showed some
Pines.
pine trees
Fine,
too.
yeah, and he showed the chain link fence. He showed the fence, too.
With no gate.
Yeah. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Make a motion, we issue order conditions for Lot 2, General Ave, with the addition of a boulder, 3-foot boulders, fence, and pine trees.
Did that one show pine trees on lot 2?
I believe so.
It did? Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion, we issue an order of conditions for Lot 1 at 441 Walnut Street for the construction of a single-family home with a boulder line shown off of the wetlands flags, and that mowing can only occur the month of
Late October.
Or early November.
Or early November.
And,
To 6 inches in height, Andy?
I had 6 inches from the previous meeting, yep.
Okay.
And then backup power too was the other one.
Yeah. And that any pressure sewer pump be equipped with a manual transfer switch, minimum of a manual transfer switch.
So I make that motion.
Good.
I
All right, we have a
second.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Make a motion for Lot 2, 441 Walnut Street with the same conditions, boulders, wetland line, mowing in late October, early November, and with the automatic transfer switch.
Yep. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Lot 441 Walnut Street, Lot 3, same conditions, boulders, wetland line, mowing in October, early November, and the automatic transfer switch.
Yeah, the manual on all of them.
Manual.
Manual transfer switch.
Yep.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Make a motion, we will issue an order of conditions for a common driveway at 29 Hill Street with the condition that the erosion control barrier is shown off of the 200-foot riverfront line.
Okay, and extend the
Demonstration system.
the Cultec or the subsurface drainage.
Drainage
payment.
conditions off of the pavement.
Correct, yeah. And that was it, Ken, right, wasn't it? That's all?
No,
On
it's.
that one?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, do we have
Well,
a second?
did we end up closing Cedar?
Huh?
I think we ended up closing Cedar, didn't we? We went in with the boulders.
Cedar, we just kept, hang on.
I got it continued, then I crossed it out and put closed.
No, wait a minute.
I think we did.
We closed.
No, we closed
We
it.
closed it.
We
Cedar.
closed it,
They
yeah.
got the barriers. there's
We
the
closed
boulders.
it.
Right,
We're on
yep.
Hill
Okay, but we're on Hill
We're on
Street.
Hill
We're Hill
Street.
Street.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're on Hill
So
Street.
Kenny made a
I'm
motion.
getting too far ahead of you.
Yes, we're on Hill Street.
We need the second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Make a motion, we issue order conditions at 21 Cedar Road. The condition, add a condition that 3-foot size boulders, 6 feet on center, starting at the wetland line where it enters the property, continuing along the wetland line to elevation 360, where it intersects at the chain link fence.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay, Martha's opposed.
That was
All
it.
right,
I believe that's it.
that's it, yeah.
That's it, that's all of them.
Yep, that's it for tonight. We have next, discuss enforcement orders. Andy, I think we have some people here
Yeah, I think we've
tonight.
got some updates, so.
Do you wanna, which one do you wanna hit first? We have 4 Claremont Circle, is that
Well, you doing both? Are you doing 4 and 8? Oh, yeah. If you wanna- She's covering both bases.
okay, why don't you give us an update on them?
Andrea Kendall with LEC. Quick update on 4 Claremont. Went out and delineated the wetlands and observed that the patio that was installed without, prior authorization is entirely located within existing lawn area. There is a stone wall fence and split rail fence that separates the wetland from the lawn. So, there's an offset of, I don't have the exact measurement in front of me, but probably 5 to 10 feet offset. The patio's 5 to 10 feet offset from the wetland at its closest. I have those notes. Anticipating doing a notice of intent, unless the commission would be amenable to an RDA. That's something that we can also do. We did GPS locate the wetland flags, the extent of the patio, so planning on putting together an exhibit plan to support whatever filing we do.
How big's the patio? What'd you say?
Good question. By memory, I don't have my notes, it's about 12 to 15 feet by 12 to 15 feet. It's kind of like in an arc. Have you been to the?
Yeah, I've been to
property?
it, because they had just started excavating for the patio, I think is when
Okay.
we issued the cease and desist, so.
There is sort of an elevated second or.
Like a seating wood, like a stone seat wall that's kind of, I think that was in there before, I think, that the owners bought the house, but.
Yeah, so it kind of covers, there's a second floor addition that overhangs over the pre-existing patio. And so the new patio pretty much covers the entire width of that second floor overhang. And then it extends out in kind of a curvilinear arc. My phone is busted. Otherwise, I would show you photos from my phone. Didn't anticipate getting too much detail tonight on it, but
Is it made of concrete or is it?
it's
brick?
a stone pavers.
Stone pavers?
Roughly 150 square feet or so. 150 square feet or so.
No, that's, because I said about, I think it's more than that.
So 15 by 15, closer to that then.
It's 5, yeah, I think it's bigger than that.
But it's relatively close to the wetland line, though. It's 15 feet, maybe, 10?
It's about 10
Yeah, I've got some
at
pictures
its
from.
closest, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, they're from usual.
I wasn't anticipating.
What do you think, Andy, in terms of requirements for documenting this? You think NOI in?
I would say so only because, I mean, it's one of the rare cases where the deed actually makes reference to there being wetlands abutting the property, so the homeowner should know
Yeah,
the wetlands there.
okay.
So,
All right.
All right, NOI.
Okay, perfect. Regarding 8 Claremont, I have the property owners here today. You want to, feel free to come up. I do have, on that same day, delineated the wetlands, looked to see what extent the existing. So this particular matter, I'm going to pass along 3 items maybe for sharing.
Okay.
And the last page I thought maybe is most appropriate to look at first. I just did a hand circle with a pen, the approximate location that we're speaking of. Currently, and then the first page is an email description of what I did that I sent to Andy, I guess it was yesterday. But what the homeowner added was a playset. The playset sits on a geotextile fabric with the play chips on top. And then surrounding the play structure proper is those, plastic little barriers that come with the Creative Playthings playset. And that rings the entire playset. Beyond that is a layer of sand, like a play sand, and then on top of that are some miscellaneous play features, like a kid's sandbox, turtle sandbox, like a little climbing, small little climbing structure for a toddler, and then a garden box, wood garden square box. So those are the kinds of features that are on that. Beyond the play sand is a row of like small boulders, larger rocks that completely is at the interface with the existing tree line. Part of that area closest to the tree line is within the wetland area. I was able to dig down into sections of the area that's comprised of sand. Was able to find one hole of hydric soils. The others, it was kind of hard because it was pretty rocky and hard to get through. And then I wasn't able to dig down into the wood chip area because of the geotextile fabric. And I really didn't want to do too much of damage. But what I was delineated the wetland on either side and then made an assumption about where it crosses through. So there is about 150 square feet of primarily the sand, a little bit in the play structure, wood chip area that's within wetland. And so I wanted to convey that to the commission, come up with what the commission would find appropriate. This is an area, and I was able to pick up a little bit on some of the old aerial photos of the property that had been, from the prior landowner, had been somewhat cleared. So I think there was some sort of structure there or something like that.
I think there was a shed they took with them or something.
Yeah, and I did pick up on that on some of the aerials, so that was no longer there. So that was an inadvertent extension of this new work into that area. The homeowner, Elizabeth, has conveyed that, happy to remove the sand, pull out, as much of that, and then see what the commission's desires regarding the play structure, whether we can keep it there, whether it can be reconfigured, so that it avoids some of that impact. The old septic plan that was on the first sheet that I showed you shows where the wetland line was at the time of, essentially, of the house of construction, what was previously approved. The existing stone wall right next to the driveway, leading into the driveway, is still there. So, you know, that's a reasonable feature to measure off from. I really didn't have that plan available with me on the day that I was doing the delineation. To really do some deep measurements and area and takeoffs with a tape measure to fully vet that out in terms of how that aligned. But Elizabeth did kind of tape measure one area. She put an orange flag down, and that was an area where my hydric soil observation hole was. So you'll see two flags, kind of like the LEC orange flag on one of the photos, and the other one was where she kind of did that, an initial offset approximately. So it generally aligns.
So in summary, what's the net filling of the wetland here? I heard
It's about 150 square feet.
150 square feet?
Yeah.
And that was mainly the sand, the portion that contained this?
Mainly, yeah.
The sand, so that's outside of that barrier, almost like the wooden timbers that.
Yeah,
that
it's a
have the wood.
plastic barrier.
Yeah.
Timber-like thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you just take out that sand?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would take
Yeah.
the sand out.
Pull
and
it
then
all out,
If that's in the wetlands, then that would be it.
Absolutely.
but get it back down to something
Native.
resembling a wetland
Yeah.
substrate.
Yeah.
And Martha, what would you plant there to sort of reestablish?
You know, if you just get it down to the substrate, you've got, looks like maples and oaks. If you give it some time, you should see some tree seedlings coming
Yeah.
up naturally. I don't know that you would need to plant anything. It looks like it's a fairly narrow strip.
Yeah.
Okay.
My question, in terms of the boulders or the small, the larger rocks there, should we remove them
I would
completely or
remove
keep
I'd
them?
remove those, because it gives a false sense of what a line is.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they're gonna look, and the next owners will go, hey, that's gotta be the wetland line, and
Well, did you put those there, or were they there?
They were there.
They were there? They were there.
this
So
contractor
that's
probably
what you
graded them out.
assumed, right? Is that you could go up to those
Yeah.
boulders and, yeah.
How about just pulling the boulders back to just where the timbers are, just if you wanted if you didn't have a place to get rid of them?
My only comment in terms of having that right next to where the kids are
Oh,
playing,
yeah, they'll fall on it.
but
Yeah, I hear you. That's a good point.
do you have a spot that you might be able to?
I'll put them in the back of a truck and find somewhere to bring them.
Well, you wouldn't want to scatter them in the wetland
Either,
area.
I don't know, you're gonna do more damage taking them out or leaving them and just let the stuff grow around them.
Yeah, I just worry about these people in the future, what they're gonna think the same thing, How many,
I think
is
it's a
that,
good
is that the
idea.
limit of the
Keep
rocks?
kids
There's not that many.
There's not that many, no.
I'm not that crazy.
They do make a nice line, though. I think you want to get rid of the line.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about, Mark. Over time, when we're
I'm
gone,
not doing it myself.
I mean, to the
Is
extent
there-
that it
Is there
could be.
any reason not to kind of push them back into the wetland? Does that constitute filling?
That would be Phil,
Okay.
I think, yeah.
I mean, to the extent that they could be removed Are you gonna hire someone to remove the sand? Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
So they can, at that time, we can,
As long as you get them, I mean, you can scatter them around your yard to
Yeah.
create landscape features too. And
Yeah.
doesn't look like there's all that many.
no, not at all. Elizabeth was interested in if the commission, I mean, we were thinking maybe planting some non-cultivar high bush blueberry.
I was thinking of that too.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it would be some
that would be
interest.
sort of nice
Yeah.
setting there.
They'd probably do well under the pines.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you get something to eat. This-
Learning experience for the kids.
Yeah, it's a nature's
All right.
classroom.
Does that sound fair, Andy?
Yeah, just, are we doing it through this, through an NOI too?
They just can't do it under the enforcement order?
Well, we could do everything under the enforcement order if you want. I mean, it's,
This one I would,
Was this one in the deed?
yeah, it's both in the deed.
Both
It's
in the
very
deed.
strange, yeah.
I will do anything you want under the enforcement order to be able to just move beyond this, so.
How old are your kids?
2.5 and 10 months.
You should see the setup she has for them. It's really lovely.
My older son has some needs, so I tried to build something for him, so.
to be consistent there, we should do the NOI, you think?
I don't know.
Do that, and to be consistent.
I would say, yeah, we just made the other people do it, seems like
Yeah,
fair.
I would say be consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we do an NOI, just
Okay.
to be consistent with the,
Can she go ahead and do the work, I guess now, to get started, if she's able to secure a
well,
contractor?
technically, we can't, we have to wait for somebody, there's an appeal period on
Well, we gave her an enforcement order, right? to-
Yeah,
to
but
stop?
now she's gonna be doing an NOI to remove the work, so unless the NOI would
Well, it
just
can always
be
be
a
an after-the-fact file, and it's not the first time people have done an after-the-fact file.
so it'll just be a documentation of
It
what
would be
she's
just a
done.
record,
I'll do that.
yeah.
Pretty
All right.
documented.
Okay.
Yep, well,
Thank
okay.
you. I guess one question is, are you planning to remove all the sand or just what?
I'm planning to remove all the sand, all of it.
It was a
gets in
messy
shoes, it's messy.
issue Anyway, so she's gonna,
Kids and
that's
sand,
fine.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I think the way we'll leave it, you could go ahead, start removing it, and just file the NOI, and we'll document this location and everything, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Right.
Okay, the next one is 10
Gary, yeah.
Glengarry Road.
Yep.
How you doing? Good. Yep.
Scott Jordan from Ecotech, and I have the property owner with me, Michael Semizoglu.
Michael Semizoglu, 10 Glengarry Road. Thank you.
Sorry about that, Michael. Michael hired us to help him out with the enforcement order. We delineated the wetlands on the site, and we've prepared this restoration plan that we'd like to complete under the enforcement order. This is sort of a worst-case scenario restoration plan. We wanted to talk to the commission about whether they'd be willing to allow this custom-built play fort / shed to stay in its current position. It's just a few feet from the wetland. I think you can see on page, this photo's probably page 4. We would propose to remove the stone apron that spills down into the wetland. If you look on page,
Can you give us a photo number? When you get there?
Page 2, photo 1. So he had the shed built for his kids to play in. Above and below is a shed storage area. And there's a stone apron, and there's a stone pathway, again, on photo 1, page 2, that extends into the wetland. We absolutely prepared restoration protocol for the wetland. It's just clean washed 3/4 inch stone to be removed. And we've specified, it's essentially a wet meadow, so we're specking skunk cabbage and cinnamon fern. I think it's 97 square feet of wetland. No earth and fill, just remove the stone and plant the herbaceous plants in there, similar to what's there now. Best case scenario, again, he would like to keep the shed there, otherwise he's got to, have heavy equipment and move it, if that's the commission's wish. So we wanted to talk about the shed location. Again, we absolutely will restore the wetland, remove the stone, and put in the plantings. There is a plan, and I apologize, it's a reduced size plan. It's going to be about page 2, 3, 4, page 7. He's hired Jarvis to prepare a plan. So it shows the delineated wetland boundary. It shows the stone apron and the stone pathway into the wetland. We'll put a straw wattle. That's the thick line shown there. Again, we don't really anticipate any earth disturbance other than planting. So we'd put the wattle there, remove the stone in the wetland, and do the plantings. Again, his preference is to leave the shed there and not have to remove it with an excavator or something and lift it out of there.
How far is the shed from the wetland? If you had,
Yeah, I know it's tough to scale off of here. It's probably 3 or 4 feet.
is the door on the shed, facing upland, or is it,
So it's facing westward.
which puts it almost parallel to the wetland, is it, or?
Yeah, that's correct. Hold on. The door is facing, the main door is facing westward. Page 4, photo 3, that's facing westward. Towards his lawn. This was all done with an existing lawn. He did not remove any trees. Well, may have been some underbrush, is that
Right,
correct?
yeah.
No trees were removed.
We custom build it so it fit nicely between those trees because we do love the shade on it, so. That's why it's long and kind of funky, not your typical shed. I couldn't fit a typical shed in there, if you will.
Is this just the storage shed, or is it for kids to play in?
So if you see page 3, photo 2, you'll notice there's a little dormer. So we
Yeah.
custom build a dormer up there. That's where the kids play in,
that's what I-
if you will. So the downstairs, just some yard stuff that I put in there, whatnot.
Yep.
The kids love playing in the backyard, so it was just another structure that we wanted to add. And, as you can see in the dormer, an adult really can't fit up there. It's really designed for the kids. It's not.
Yeah.
And the ladder going up to it is just pieces of wood onto the side there, so it's not like I could go hang out up there or anything.
Yeah, so that page 3, photo 2, this looks like a little personnel door, access door going in there. Is the arrows pointing down to the ground? Is that where the little apron?
There's about 3 feet of stone there that's technically in a wetland we will remove.
I think that's also
Is
the
that the lead
compost
into
pile,
that
too.
path that goes into the wetland? Is that the?
No, the path, if you're looking at that photo, is to the left.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. That was just some leveling stone.
All right.
Yeah, it spilled a little bit, so it's just a flat shovel
Okay.
to remove that.
Yeah.
And we would put a couple plants in that area as well.
Is it a wooden floor on the shed?
Yeah, it's raised off.
Okay, so there's no concrete pad or anything?
No.
Okay.
The, you know, for what it's worth, if you go to page 7 and you look at the plan, about the house with the play area there, I did it on the same line as the play area. As you can see in my yard, I didn't, you know, until we got the cease and desist, I didn't realize what had happened, but, so that was existing when we bought the house, and again, we put it on the opposite corner.
The play area was there when you bought the house?
Correct.
Yeah, it's been there since 2014 at least.
So it was just, again, the same leveled yard, if you will, and just expanded to the other side of it.
All right. Martha, what you thinking?
It's a nice little shed. I hate that it's in the wetland. We're so close to it.
I know.
Yeah. What would it take to
drag it?
To drag it, to move it?
So I talked to my landscaper. We have to bring in, you know, something pretty heavy to lift it, and we have to move it back to that side of the yard. So we have to build a new pad. The side yard is not flat, so we have to level that side of the yard there. Then we have to lift it, and then, so all the material there that just goes away. I won't be able to reuse the material there. So, like an excavator or something, or a skid steer excavator, something pretty heavy to move it. So I'm trying to keep it, if I can there, if we have to move it, I'm trying to keep it on that side. We did get an electrical permit because there is electricity to the shed. So that, you know, we did run through that and everything, so we would just have to move the electrical line as well too, over there.
It's, the footprint of the shed is about 60 square feet. It looks like it's about 5 by 10 or 5 by 12.
It's about not, hold on, it's right here, 8.21 by 16. You see that on page 7?
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at page 7, but I don't see that, but okay.
It was on the site plan, it's showing a proposed location.
Yeah, it's sorry, it's
Oh, I
really
see.
small.
Okay,
Yeah,
I see it.
it's about 8 feet by 16 feet. Again,
I thought
it's,
this was gonna print in landscape mode. It's extra small.
oh, they have the other,
Well, it would have been a little bit bigger
I could
if
show.
they would have printed.
Mine printed in landscape. I could-
Did it?
Yeah.
Well, mine did not.
I can show you that. Something, just put something that it's gonna keep people from going further in.
I mean,
I mean, you may even think of just a couple, you know, not massive rock, something you can come in with maybe a small loader and just dump a couple and then put your plantings. And then it says, you know, that's the line. And then make them move it. You hear what we're saying?
I'm hearing rocks.
Common theme.
Yeah.
Common theme.
I mean, our old fallback when, you know, we're just trying to
No, I
delineate
understand.
that line. And we understand, we'd hate to move it as well, but at the same time, we're here to protect the wetland.
Yep.
And
Of course.
once you move, and the next guy comes in.
I totally get it, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we're just throwing around the idea of maybe a couple fairly good-sized rocks, like we talked, like a
Yep.
3x3, maybe two or three of those along the wetland line right by the shed, so that you pretty much establish the line. And if you want to put some bushes, some high bush blueberries or whatever,
High bush blueberries,
something in there that's gonna
We're talking about
be a wetland species.
Is that the line?
huckleberries.
Yep.
Somewhere in there?
Try to get.
No,
them
I think
more.
they're talking about around in here. You're just talking about around the shed.
Just around, between the shed and the wetland, not going beyond.
Right, yeah, that,
Right, Ken? Would that be-
And not moving it?
And not moving it,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, he's got power to it and all
Right.
too, and I mean.
I agree
it's,
with that.
so that's probably.
Removing the rock, so.
A mini
Removing,
excavator.
moving
removing
yeah.
anything in. I think it's only 100 square feet of fill in the well.
97,
right?
yeah.
97
Yeah.
square feet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a little.
Pulling that out, three footers you know, big ones, and space them out along the back of that shed, or I'm not sure what the back or front is on that, and,
I don't know either.
and then throw in Martha Bush, the wetland species, just plant a little bit more in there,
Yeah.
tight to the shed.
Do or optional? Do?
Do,
Do? Okay.
yeah, and what are we gonna call for, Martha?
We can call for high bush blueberries, huckleberries, I think, wetlands?
Huckleberry's it's a very dry upland plant, yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to.
That's like down in Douglas where
How
it's
about
bone
sweet
dry.
pepper bush?
You know, there's like no shrubs in this wetland, but high bush blueberry grows everywhere. It's not gonna take very many.
Okay.
We space
Like
them at
4 of them?
like 6 feet spacing or something, so they can, is that reasonable?
Yeah,
5, 6 feet.
yeah.
So I can revise this
Okay.
if you'd like, because again, this was worst case.
If I may.
Included moving the shed.
The other thing is where the entrance to the shed faces the wetlands. It would be great to, if you put rocks in or something, just to protect that wetland edge as much as possible, whether that's with plantings, whether that with rocks, because, you know, if you get a lot of
Yeah.
traffic going in and out of the shed.
What's where you talking about, right, John? Through there.
Right at that door, entrance
Yeah.
way on the
Down
side,
in
yeah.
L shape, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's where it's closest, so that's, makes sense.
okay.
Now, the next thing is, do we do it as an NOI again? Because this was never permitted, was it, the shed?
No, no, it
Is
was,
it in the deed?
Probably should go the same route, I would assume.
seems to only be consistent.
Document it.
Well, so do you wanna, your preference would be an NOI then?
To be consistent with what we've done on the other enforcement orders with those other folks.
Plus then,
So-
plus then we get the record with the title.
Right.
The next
Yeah.
person to
Right.
move in.
So Michael, this is where this plan comes in. This
Yeah.
would have avoided an NOI if we moved the shed. So, no, that would be a decision you'd have to make if you wanna go through filing the NOI. What we're showing here is the shed, shed location. Again, it's a pain to move the shed and hopefully it wouldn't get structurally damaged. We're showing it outside the 50-foot buffer. Therefore, it becomes a minor exempt project under the regulations. It would not require a filing. And then we would do the restoration. So no filing required. So that's an option. If he keeps the shed there, it would be an NOI.
Sorry, I know I was, all the hearings, the public hearings, is that what we're talking about?
Notify
We've
butters.
done most of the heavy lifting already, so,
Yeah.
for an NOI.
Right, I mean,
We
It's your
can
call- it's your
probably,
call.
yeah, we could probably get approval to get to work if we move the shed. I
Yeah.
know it's
Yeah, but we're
a
not
big
telling you to
deal.
move
He's
the
gotta move
shed.
the electric line. and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like it's a pretty, I mean, the NOI is just a procedural thing to document what's there and what we're asking you to do with the rocks and all. So you're clear, you know, it's gonna be clear on your title when you go to sell the house.
Of course, yeah.
This is all legit, otherwise, pick her up and move her.
Yeah.
And I mean, then you don't have to come back to us if you can get it out of our jurisdiction.
Gotcha.
And we don't have to decide tonight, 'cause it's just enforcement,
No,
so.
no, but that's the options you can think about. You can let us know which way you
Let
wanna
him think
go.
about it.
Yeah, let me think about it and,
Yeah.
you know, I appreciate,
No, that's okay.
Yeah, so we've got options.
Got options.
We'll get it fixed.
that's great, thank you.
Good thing is there's no earth and fill. It's,
Yeah.
nothing's moving around. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay, sounds good. So
Okay.
we'll wait to
Thank you.
hear back from you guys.
Okay,
Appreciate it,
thanks.
thank you.
Yep.
Well, 56 Oregon Ave, the enforcement order came back unclaimed
Oh, really?
this week, so I don't know what you want to do about it.
How does it come back unclaimed? You mean?
Because they tried, it went by certified mail, so they'll try 3 times to.
Oh,
If they
okay.
don't pick it, then they send it back to us as unclaimed, which means they didn't want it. So, I mean, without physically going over there and dropping
You
it.
go over there and then,
I can try and go over and look, because
Personal
the address was actually in Worcester, it's not the owner.
Oh,
I
okay.
looked at the deed reference to see who owned it, and it was some I'll do a little research, and if I can find a physical address, I'll go
Alright.
and hand deliver it. And then 284 South Quincy, I talked to them a couple of weeks ago, but I don't know if they're making as much headway as everyone else, so I'll reach out and get an update for the next meeting.
All right. And certificates of compliance, do we,
I got one in on the end of the day Friday for 6 Victoria Circle.
yeah, did you get a chance to check it at all?
I did, so, I mean, the only issue I had is, John Rennie gave us a letter saying the work was done, but I went up there today and took a look. We can take a look at the site plans, but there's a lot of work, there's a bunch of play sets, so I'll pull it up. I mean, they've got a closing, so I don't know.
Well, did they do it?
I'm gonna guess they put it in, because it wasn't on the original site plan, there's only been one owner since they sold the house. Just gonna throw this
What
up.
are they supposed to, what's supposed to?
Well, it was just, the original order of conditions was to five homes to build the home, to build the house, and obviously the site work, but,
What is it that needed to happen?
well, so they built the house and everything's right, but if you look in the backyard,
Yeah,
there's a massive, so this is right next to, Wyman Farms. So there's a fairly substantial swing set and these rubber tires that were put in the ground, and it's all within 100 feet. None of that was on the approved plan. So the question is, do we want to just?
these are playground type stuff?
Yeah,
again?
that's a playground with, looks like a timber edging, and then I keep pointing on my screen, but these are like rubber tires that are half buried in the ground. And then this is a trampoline, which I've never seen, but it's actually.
Can you point it out?
Oh,
Yeah.
is it not?
You can't see,
Not
it's hard to
Oh,
see your
it's
mouse.
not?
It's just hard to see it.
We'll do it old school. So the house is all built, so
Yeah.
there's a fairly substantial swing set here, and these are all fairly big industrial tires buried in the ground. And then this is a trampoline set, which is, it's kind of cool, it's buried 3 feet in the ground.
So it's sunken, yeah.
So it's sunken,
Yeah,
this is
geez.
all, I mean, it's all in lawn area, just.
And where's the wetland?
The wetlands.
You're gonna zoom out now?
Can I zoom on the screen then?
So where would these tires be? They're all.
Yeah, well, the wetlands are right on there, you can see them, they're pretty matched out.
But the stuff is where, right in here and here and?
Oh, on your site?
On our site plan, yeah,
it's right in the
versus.
back corner, so it's all in, I think it's all in the 100-foot buffer. So it's all, it looks to me like the thing's built over on a septic.
Oh, it's over near the septic, oh,
Yeah, so it's all
Jesus.
built right, so it's right on the cusp of the 100-foot buffer, so I'm like, and then there's a chain link fence that was put all the way around, but it's, didn't appear to be on the original site.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, you know, can you tell, this is John's asking for it, you
Well, the
know,
homeowners, as usual, they called up and said, hey, we're closing next week, we've got the order conditions. And I'm like, John did get the letter in saying he did a site visit, it was built per the plan, but I beg to differ.
you know, if you think, well, yeah, because we're not gonna be able to sign it unless we come in special to sign it, and I was gonna say to have John just say, hey, John, there's stuff out there, and looks like it's in the 100-foot buffer zone, what's going on, and have them.
Yeah, and I checked the deed, so they bought it off the original developer, so it's not like, they definitely put it in themselves.
Yeah.
Well, if they don't, if something doesn't get documented, then the new homeowner's gonna
And they inherit it.
inherit the problem like
Yeah,
something like happens.
I agree with you.
And then the
I
site-
think he should, yeah, let's have John document what's out there.
Just list what's changed on this. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to call him, because they just came in the end of the day
Yeah,
Friday.
otherwise, you were just passing it to the
Next
new
person.
guy
Next
as
person
being.
inherits it, so. All right,
Good.
so do you want me to do that offline with them and then you sign it, or do you want to wait till he documents it first? 'Cause I don't know when their closing is, but I'm gonna guess they don't want to wait till September.
I guess we could sign it tonight and just hold it in
And I'll hold it.
case if it doesn't pass the test, that being outside of the 100-foot, then you just rip it up.
Okay, I didn't which way, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we can do it that way.
It's up to
We'll
you.
Do it that way, but obviously,
yeah, I don't,
don't
I'll let it.
release it until we know it
All right, well, sign
That way at least we'll get the signatures
I'll email him tomorrow.
in case it works out okay for them.
Yeah, I don't know when they're closing, but,
That would be the best, yeah.
and that was it, I think. Unless you want to defer on the policy.
What's that?
You have a pile of papers.
I know. Yeah, let's defer, huh?
I can't down the road, yep.
All right, we got to sign.
Well, you got a lot closed tonight. You
I
did
thought it
well.
was, yeah.
We all did well.
Yeah, a lot
We
done.
got a lot done.
We got a lot off the plate,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
it
I
was
said we only
huge.
got,
No, that was good. I thought it would go a little quicker, but it didn't.
What are you using for maps? Is that Bing or is that?
this is a thing we subscribe to. It's called Near Map, so they do
Okay,
a
yep.
flyover
I've-
twice a year.
I know Near Map.
Yeah, it's great. And it's,
Yeah.
we start
How much coverage do you get in Shrewsbury? Twice a year, you said?
Twice a year, they do
You
it.
try to do it
in the
with,
fall.
yeah, with tree
It goes
cover.
back,
without-
I mean, I can go back right now to like 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, we use it a lot for the stormwater catch, but it's also good for Concom. And since I didn't put it in there, we can go to the,
There's some urban areas where they do it more than twice a year.
Yeah.
That's a much better picture than what I got on Google.
yeah, it's a pretty high resolution, so.
Yeah.
And they should be doing the next one soon.
Well, and I got tree cover, so that's what I.
Well, that's why they usually trim it, trying to,
Yeah.
before this tree comes in.
I couldn't see the trampoline or anything on the, you could barely see the edge of the trampoline.
Yeah, we can go in pretty, it's pretty high res. I think the patio's a little bigger too, but I think that's fine. All right, that's all I got.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, yeah. Well, they have,